Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Friday. We've made it to the end of the week. Your reward is 3 hours of sports talk on the sports voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, our Facebook page, WIBW News. However you're watching the program today, thanks for being a part of the audience. We appreciate you hanging out on 580 Sports Talk. I am Dan Lucero. Brendan Drzinski is off today. Spencer Dupuis will be along in a little while. A lot of show to get to in the next 3 hours plus today, because we'll have a little overtime ahead of Royals baseball. Handing things off to the Royals Baseball Network at 6:30 tonight for pregame coverage as the Royals take on the Cleveland Guardians. It is not an exaggeration to call this the most important series of the season for the Royals, as it will all but certainly determine the path the Royals take when it comes to the trade deadline, which is now less than a week away. And folks, the deadline is open for business. We had 3 fairly significant moves occur within the last 18 hours. The Mariners have found a slugging first baseman. The Yankees have plugged their hole at third base. Over in the National League, the Mets found a left-handed reliever. So the teams that are open for business are open for business. And the Royals have to decide if they're one of them. And these 3 games against the Guardians, a game and a half ahead of them, both in the Central and in the wild card standings, going to go a long way towards determining the path the Royals will take. So pregame coverage at 6:30, first pitch 7:05 right here on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, 7:10 first pitch, pardon me. And we will talk some baseball on the program today. Lots of football to get to as well. It was the last light day today for the Kansas City Chiefs in St. Joe, by which I mean it was the last day where you won't see the pads popping. The last day before the pads start popping. Chiefs are off tomorrow, and then the pads are on Sunday. So we have one more day of shorts and shells for the Chiefs. A couple of observations from today's camp, today's reps. And we'll play some audio from Chiefs camp today. We'll hear from a guy who's become kind of the talk of camp on the defensive side of the ball. The rookie defensive tackle Omar Norman-Lott spoke to the media earlier today. Very funny descriptions about what it is like to rep against the best center in football, Creed Humphrey, that you'll enjoy. But we'll hear from Omar Norman-Lott later this hour. We'll also play you Nick Bolton's comments, the Patrick Mahomes of the defense. Anytime Nick Bolton speaks, I'm listening, and he spoke to the media in St. Joe earlier today. We'll play that later on in today's show. We'll also get a boots-on-the-ground report from our guy, Matt Derrick, our Chiefs insider, will join us at the bottom of this hour. We'll get Matt's impressions, what he has seen, who has stood out, who has maybe worked themselves in a position where they are a lock to make the 53-man roster. And that's a hard thing to do in 4 days of practice, but you can also kind of tell as far as who the coach is like, what kind of situations, what kind of reps the coaches are putting guys in. You can kind of tell, and certainly a coaching staff would have an idea built upon mini camp and all of those things, who they would like to see make the 53. And I think there are some guys this week, it has become very clear, are going to be on the 53-man roster. So we'll revisit that a little bit, and we'll talk about all of that with Matt Derrick from ChiefsDigest.com. He is our Chiefs insider. That is coming up at the bottom of this hour. We'll talk some college football on the program, too, today, with camp open for both the Jayhawks and the Wildcats. What are the most important position groups to be watching in camp? And which ones are the most interesting? Maybe the most fun. It may not surprise you to hear that I want to talk about the skill guys in that regard. But I think that interesting and important are not necessarily the same thing when we come to what we'll be observing in Lawrence and in Manhattan with the start of the college football season, again, less than a month away. Plus, lots of the shenanigans you've come to know and love from a Friday edition of the show. We've got a jam-packed sports headline segment today. Bill Self, if you missed it last night, the reporting that the head coach of the Kansas men's basketball team underwent a heart procedure last night, had a couple of stents inserted at Lawrence Memorial Hospital. So we will talk about that. There's also some KU basketball recruiting news that we will get to. And college sports are saved. The president says so. We'll talk about what that executive order issued by President Trump actually means for college football. Short-term answer is not much because it's just an executive order. But it does, I think, preface a lot of things that the NCAA would really like to see happen at the legislative level that could either alter the course or solidify the current course just in a more amenable fashion for how college sports are evolving. I think it's important to kind of walk through that a little bit, so we'll get to that in headlines as well. We'll do Change My Mind. We'll do On Second Thought. We'll crown a weekly champion on What Is Wrong With You. Going to be very hard to dethrone Charles Embezzlement Cheese from yesterday, but we'll try. And, of course, we want to hear from you throughout the program today. Hit us up on the text line, 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. Text line is open throughout the show. Love to hear from you. Also, if you're watching on our YouTube channel, the name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. We added a new subscriber already today. Will you be next? Yes, you. I'm talking to you right now. You, person who is listening to the show but is not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Will you be a hero today and go subscribe to the channel? Doesn't cost you anything but about 10 seconds of time in the YouTube app that I know you've got on your phone. Go subscribe. Go check us out on the YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube today, jump in the chat. Interact with us, interact with your fellow listeners, join the 580 Sports Talk community as we have some fun here over the next 3 hours. A good afternoon already to Paul, Vance, Mark H., Coach Gonzo's in as well. Appreciate you guys being in. Look forward to hearing from you all and many more as we go along here on 580 Sports Talk. Last of the light practices for the Chiefs. Another day in shorts and shells. Day off tomorrow, and then the pads start popping on Sunday. Couple of guys getting extended looks with the starters today that we haven't talked about. One over on the side of the tight end room is Jared Wiley. Jared Wiley is turning some heads at this training camp. And he is coming off of a pretty serious knee injury that cost him half of his rookie season and frankly didn't make any kind of measurable impact on the Chiefs as a rookie. So Wiley's kind of become the forgotten man a little bit. When you talk about last year's draft class, it's easy to overlook the tight end out of TCU. But man, I remember watching his tape out of TCU and watching how he manipulated space and moved in traffic and moved with the ball after the catch and thinking to myself, look, he might not be the athlete that Travis Kelce is, but there's a lot of Travis Kelce here. You could see some similarities. Again, that's a lofty guy to be compared to, arguably the greatest tight end ever. That's something where even in that comparison, you're always going to pale when you're being compared to one of the all-time greats in team history and league history. But Jared Wiley's got some wiggle, man. He can move. He's good after the catch. I was really interested in what he could be last year. And then he wasn't much of anything, and then he got hurt. So there's a chance that it was always intended to be this for Jared Wiley, that year one was about the developmental process, learning behind Travis Kelce, learning from Travis Kelce, not making as much of an on-field impact, and then maybe seeing that grow later in the season. And that's so often the case anyway for young skill players that aren't, your first round picks. You take a guy in the first round, you need him to be something right away. It's really rare that you have a guy who's second, third, fourth, fifth round, whatever, and they're an immediate contributor, especially in the Chiefs offense. That's a rare thing. So maybe this was always the plan for Jared Wiley, and the knee injury last year was a bit of a bump in that road, but he's been really good by all accounts through training camp. and could potentially give the Chiefs another viable receiving option in those 3 tight end sets they like to run. The Chiefs run a lot of 3 tight end stuff, and they're really good out of it. That's the other thing. They don't just run it for decoration. It's not window dressing. They're effective. They run the ball really well in it. And when you have guys like Travis Kelce and Noah Gray as your top 2 tight ends, naturally, you still have that receiving threat. You can throw the ball really effectively out of those sets as well. So I like where the Chiefs are at with their tight end room if Jared Wiley is really going to make a step forward. They could use that. They're going to need either him to do that or Robert Tonyan to turn back the clock or Jake Brenningstool to be an even rarer case of an undrafted free agent coming in and making an immediate impact in the Chiefs offense. But Chiefs love 3 tight end stuff, and I don't think they're going to go away from it as being a part of their offense. And it's not something they do like half the snaps, obviously, but it is an important part, an important schematic part of their offense. And so if it's going to continue to be, then you need tight end 3 to be viable. And so Jared Wiley's early showing in training camp, I think, is a really good sign in that regard. Another guy on defense, we talked a little bit about him yesterday, Nazeeh Johnson, continuing to get more reps with the starters, rotating in for Jalen Watson, playing alongside Trent McDuffie as the outside cornerback on the first team. Noel Williams got some reps today with the ones as well. So this is just Steve Spagnuolo, Dave Merritt rotating their guys in, seeing what they're made of, seeing how they handle their business when they're on the field with a guy that teams don't want to throw at in Trent McDuffie, seeing how they're going to handle themselves in situations where they might be the guy who a quarterback is going to lock in on and say, I think my guy can beat him. And I don't remember whose tweet it was, which Chiefs reporter. I don't remember if it was Pete Sweeney or Josh Briscoe. I don't remember who it was, but they had tweeted about, posted on X about Nazeeh Johnson getting more reps with the ones, and all of the comments, because it's social media, but also because it's Nazeeh Johnson, all the comments were very negative. Yuck, gross, why? He better not make the team. He stinks. All these things. And look, we talked about it yesterday. Nazeeh Johnson did not put a lot of great stuff on film, at least the stuff that we see, right? We see with a cornerback, either we never see him at all, which means they're not quarterbacks not throwing to that side of the field. It's Darrelle Revis. It's prime Richard Sherman. It's all of those things. It's L'Jarius Sneed in the Super Bowl 58 run. And so we don't notice them at all, and that's good because they're not part of the action, because quarterbacks would rather go to the other side and just not mess with that dude. Or you notice a cornerback because they're getting beat. They get beat one-on-one. They get beat on a double move. They get beat on a go. And that happened to Nazeeh Johnson fairly often last season. But the fact that even with all of that, even with the negative that we saw from last year, that there is still something Steve Spagnuolo really likes about Johnson, that he's still getting these opportunities, that suggests to you there's stuff on tape we didn't see that was really positive. That suggests to you there's been some stuff maybe on tape from minicamp that was really solid that we weren't privy to. I don't think that Steve Spagnuolo and Dave Merritt are as likely to misevaluate a player as me. Okay, I'm just going to put that out there. I might be wrong. If it's my evaluation or it's Steve Spagnuolo's evaluation, I would trust his more than I would trust mine. I would trust Spags and Dave Merritt's evaluations more than I would trust at Chiefs Fans Poeva 69 2010 on X, right? So I think it's interesting. I think it's noteworthy. And I certainly think that Nazeeh Johnson is in a position where we can feel like he's going to make the 53-man roster. And in that regard, I was curious. So I went back. It was Monday the 14th. So it was the first day of the All-Star break. Monday the 14th. So we're working on 11 days ago. I listed the guys that I thought at the time were 53-man roster locks. Dead locks. Nothing could happen where they would not make the roster. Guys, I just had that kind of feeling about. And I said that there were 44 of those guys, which would leave 9 spots to fill on an active 53-man roster. There's just an exercise for the sake of doing the exercise. I think so far there are 4 guys who have played themselves into being locks. There are 2 guys who are really close to being locks. There's 1 player who might be playing himself on to the other side of the equation. A guy I thought might have been a lock that I'm not as sure about right now. And then, of course, there is the ambiguous Rashee Rice situation where if he is suspended to start the season, he wouldn't count against the 53-man limit for week 1. But anyway, by my math now, I've got 47 locks. And I've got 2 that are a possible. The 4 guys I think that are going to be around for week 1. Tyquan Thornton. That's happening. Dave Toub spoke to the media earlier today. It was Dave Toub's turn. I was a little surprised. We haven't heard from Matt Nagy yet at camp. We heard from Big Red. We heard from Spags the other day. I thought today was going to be Nagy's day. It was Dave Toub's day. And like I have the schedule of, who talks. I just assumed. Then I went looked at the schedule. Oh, it's Dave Toub today. Anyway, Dave Toub loves him some Tyquan Thornton and thinks he could maybe potentially help the team in a kickoff return role, which when we were talking earlier this offseason about Kansas City Star Chiefs beat writer Jesse Newell's 53-man roster projection, and he had Tyquan Thornton making the team over Nico Remigio. That surprised me because I sort of thought that Remigio might have more value as somebody who would help in kick return. But if Thornton can help in kick return, and he's a better receiver than Remigio, he doesn't have the publicized case of the fumblies that Remigio has had, even in his better moments as an NFL player, then it starts to make a little more sense that Thornton would have an advantage. Add to that what we talked about, him getting some reps on special teams, not just in a return role, but as a gunner role on punt coverage, the way that Dave Toub likes to use wide receiver 6, that last wide receiver roster spot. I think it's all lining up for Tyquan Thornton. He's going to make the team. Firmly believe at this point that Tyquan Thornton is going to be on the 53. I also think that Nazeeh Johnson is going to be on the 53. He wasn't on my initial projection at defensive back just because, again, I didn't see it from him on tape last year. But the Chiefs staff has always been big Nazeeh Johnson fans. And we are, again, I think it is worth noting, as I noted yesterday, we're in year 2 of Johnson coming off of the ACL. And some guys, it takes that long to get back to 100%. Even if it's not 100% athleticism, it's 100% confidence to do the things that you were doing, to move in the ways that you moved on the field before you suffered the injury. So I believe that the Chiefs believe that we have not seen the best of Nazeeh Johnson on an NFL gridiron yet. We have not seen his best if pressed into a cornerback role. And they are acting very much like a staff that believes that he can fill a role in that defensive secondary if need be. So I think Nazeeh Johnson is a lock. I move him into the lock category. That gives us 46. 2 guys this week that we talked about on our Chiefs countdown to kickoff because they have uniform numbers in the 40s. We'll get to our number 42. We're 42 days away from kickoff. We'll get to countdown to kickoff, Carson Steele days from Chiefs kickoff. We'll do that in the 5 o'clock hour. But we talked about Cam Jones and Jack Cochran kind of on back-to-back days this week. And I have a hard time believing that either of those 2 guys as core special teamers is not going to be on the team. That would move the Chiefs to 6 linebackers at most. That's if Jeffrey Bassa makes the team. I still think he probably will. But that would give you 6 linebackers. I think there's space for those guys. Again, really important special teams players. Those are Dave Toub's guys. Dave Toub always gets some of his guys on the roster. So it would be very surprising to me upon further consideration if Cam Jones and Jack Cochran weren't on the 53. So those 4 guys, Thornton, Johnson, Cochran, Jones. Move them into the lock category. Add that to the 44 guys I considered locks 11 days ago. And we got 48. Then I'm going to subtract one. I think Joshua Williams is trending towards the cut line. Because who aren't we talking about getting reps with the ones? We talked about just about everybody. And this is, again, with Christian Fulton out. Christian Fulton not practicing. Fulton's a lock. McDuffie's a lock. Jalen Watson got the nod with the ones. He's a lock. Shamari Connor's versatility, he's going to be a lock. He's going to be a safety/corner hybrid for this team. Noel Williams is a third-round pick they're not cutting. And if Nazeeh Johnson is sticking around, that's 6 corners. And I don't know that they're going to keep Joshua Williams. He hasn't been as important on the special team side as a guy like Cam Jones or Jack Cochran. He regressed as a player last year. And maybe he's fallen out of favor a little bit with this staff. Because if the choice is between Williams and, let's say, Chris Roland Wallace was a special teams guy who was active all last year and has the versatility to play the slot, which Joshua Williams is a big corner, doesn't really have. And you know Steve Spagnuolo loves versatility. So I think Joshua Williams might be trending in the wrong direction. I've removed him from my list of locks. So, okay, now we're at 47. 2 guys I think I might be talking about as locks by this time next week. We talked about Jared Wiley. I think he's playing his way into where he's pretty clearly tight end number 3, and he's healthy. And that was the thing. We didn't know necessarily going into camp if he was going to be on the pup or if he was going to be healthy. He's healthy, and he's making plays. Shorts and shells, but he's making plays. So Jared Wiley is very close to being a lock for me. Elijah Mitchell's another one. He spoke to the media earlier today. The Chiefs put him out at the dais in front of the media. So clearly he's making an impression. He took the second running back reps today ahead of Kareem Hunt. I thought that was noteworthy. I'm worried about his injury history. I feel like he's a guy who could have a really nice camp and a really nice preseason, and he makes the 53, and then in week 1, he hobbles off the field, and it's a hamstring. We don't see him for 10 weeks. It's kind of what it's been for Elijah Mitchell. But I do think that a healthy Elijah Mitchell could help the team and is trending toward making the team. So I've got 47 locks. I got 2 possibles. Rashee Rice is going to make the 53, but maybe he's not on the 53. That's its own situation. But I think that's where things stand after a week of Chiefs camp as they go to an off day tomorrow. Speaking of guys who are locks, Omar Norman-Lott is the talk of camp right now. He spoke to the media earlier today. We're going to hear from him in just a bit. We're then going to talk to our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick from ChiefsDigest.com, and we'll hear from Nick Bolton later in the show. Plenty of Royals talk, some KU and K-State football. You got a jam-packed Friday show, and we're really glad you're here on 580 Sports Talk. 3:32, just getting started on this Friday edition of 580 Sports Talk. He's been the talk of training camp so far on the defensive side of the ball, that is. Second-round pick Omar Norman Lott out of Tennessee, getting a lot of opportunity to rep with the starters on the defensive line. He talked about that, what it's like to go against Creed Humphrey in practice, and much more today. Here's the kid, Omar Norman Lott.
Omar, now you've had a chance to kind of settle in and actually immerse yourself in the defense. How do you feel like it sets up for you? How does the scheme and what you're having to do fit your skill set?
Skip Spags does the best he can to put the D lineman in positions to win. And me learning that is just going to help me be a great player.
Who offensive line-wise has presented you feel like the most challenge so far?
Humphrey is a brick wall. No, I'm not laughing. Seriously, I said Creed.
Hey, Omar, you didn't sign the Chiefs as a second-round pick for a while, but still were out there in practice. Just can you take us through that process and why it was important for you to still be out in practice with your guys, even when that was going on?
Availability is the best ability, honestly. That's all I could give you on that one.
Omar, when you're going up against a brick wall like Creed and guys like Trey Smith, how much does that already help you improve your game, your techniques?
A lot. Astronomical. You're talking about these are some of the best guys in this league. So it's helped me take my level to the next step.
Omar, is there anything that you sort of pinpointed even before camp started that you said, I want to get better at this little by little throughout the training camp?
Probably just working my second move in pass rush and staying low in the run game.
How do you feel Chris Jones is helping you so far?
He's a great leader. He's hard on the rookies, and he's unforgivable with us, but that's only going to make us grow.
What's it been like for just the rookie class? I mean, usually there's a little bit of a bonding and everything. You have a roommate?
Yeah, Ashton Gelati. We're all cool. Me, Kozia, and Ashton. We all study at night. Get us all right together for the prior day coming up. Yeah, we're good.
Do you feel like you were ready for this? What you faced so far in your first week of an NFL training camp?
Yeah, I do believe I was ready, but, it's getting back into the groove of things. You always have that, and that's kind of what this week was for, just to get us back into the groove. We come on Sunday, we get in the pads, and we're full go.
Sometimes it takes Spagnuolo a lot to put rookies with the first team. What has it meant to have been out there with the first team defense so far?
Can you ask that question again?
Sometimes Spagnuolo waits to play rookies with the first team. What has it meant to get those reps early with some of the top guys?
I mean, it's an honor. I just got to use them the right way. And, I'm working on not messing up and just playing hard.
What's it like having to prove yourself again? I mean, you come out of college as a star. When's the last time you felt like you had to prove yourself like this?
Freshman year of college. So I'm kind of like a freshman again. That's all it is.
Yeah, but there's a lot of guys in the past who have said, like, this practice is a lot faster tempo and it's sped up compared to college. Do you get that sense how fast things are going, especially how many reps are giving you this early on?
Well, yeah, because this is a job now. These guys' jobs, my job is all on the line. So it's a different tempo and intensity with it.
I know you don't have a ton of downtime, but what do you guys do in the dorms or do for your free time last few days?
Sleep and studying. There's no more time for nothing else. Yeah, nah.
You said you feel like a freshman again. You're back in the dorms. You talked about sleeping. Are the beds small? Are they comfortable? You guys are big guys. Is it comfortable in there?
I'm blessed enough to have a nice bed and it's comfortable. I went and bought a comforter. I got multiple other vets, comforters, and air purifiers just to make it feel more homey. So we're doing good.
Did they give you that tip, like the vets and stuff? Or
Yeah.
Omar, what changes when the pads finally come out, which is 2 days from now?
Probably just a level of physicality. I mean, we're kind of already moving. I play a position. Me and the O lineman and my teammates, we all play a position where we're in contact and engaged every play. So it kind of doesn't really make a difference, but it just gets more physical.
Have you ever, in one-on-ones, if it is against Creed, experienced something quite like this, going against him?
Nah. It was like, I'll tell you this. I think it was yesterday. We had a rep, and he was like running an outside zone play. I was trying to move with him, and I was like, damn, like mid-rep. I'm like, damn, this dude he's a brick wall. He's solid, and he's a great athlete.
As Omar Norman Lott, count him impressed with Creed Humphrey. That's for sure. Welcome to the NFL moment, getting to go up against the best center in the league. We'll get Matt Derrick's thoughts on all things from Chiefs camp in the first week. Our Chiefs insider joins us next on 580 Sports Talk. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by the great Matt Derrick. Our Chiefs insider, writes for ChiefsDigest.com. And, of course, you can find him across all manner of social media under his own name, Matt Derrick. Matt, how good does it feel to get back out to camp? But more notably, how bad does it feel that you have not been the first one out to camp either of the first 4 days?
Oh, that has been crushing. I mean, one out of my control. I mean, you can't be in two places at once. And the Chiefs had a kind of an opening event with Mark Donovan. You got to be there in case he says anything about the stadium and anything news breaking. So hey, you can't control that. Today, kind of self-owned. I forgot my badge.
Yeah, can't do that.
Car because they wouldn't let me in without my credentials. So it was a little bit of a self-owned there. But I tell you what. I mean, Harrison Butker and the specialist, I don't know how early they're getting there. I mean, Harrison's been early. So I don't know. I mean, I at some point I'm going to figure out how early these guys are getting there because I'm going to beat them. I mean, I don't care how hard. I mean, Sunday I'm going to get my best Sunday because it's going to be a capacity crowd day. And on those days, boy, if you don't get there early to beat the parking and the traffic, you're in trouble. So hopefully Sunday I get into the win column, make it, get the 1 and 4, and we figure out what's going on.
All right, Matt, let's talk about what we've seen on these first handful of days of Chiefs training camp. We'll talk about the guy we just heard from here on 580 Sports Talk, the rookie out of Tennessee, Omar Norman Lott. He's kind of become the talk of camp on the defensive side of the ball, getting a lot of reps with the ones as a rookie. What are your impressions of the big fella? Does he look the part?
He does. I mean, obviously, good size, looks like he knows what he's doing out there, looks comfortable, a little bit, his workload has changed a little bit from OTAs, and I was wondering if it would do that. They got him a lot of reps during the offseason workouts, and, I was wondering if a little bit of that was just because, he didn't play a ton of snaps in college. I mean, he was kind of a part-time player, and then Tennessee did such an big rotation with their defensive line. And I think that some of that was certainly trying to build up his stamina. Now that it's a little bit hotter, and they've like backed off him a little bit, and he's been mostly running with the second team. But he gets out there with the ones occasionally. Certainly, it looks like they're prepping him to be a guy that is out there on early downs, on run downs, on later downs, on passing downs. Probably Mike Pennell and Jerry Tillery will be the guys that are out there on early downs and run situations. But Omar, I mean, they want him to be out there in pass situations. That's his forte, and I think you're going to see him in that role quite a bit. I'm really interested to see him when the pads come on, because that's when you really can start to tell offensive and defensive line, and that starts on Sunday.
Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com is our Chiefs insider, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline here on 580 Sports Talk. Another player got some time with the ones today, getting a lot of reps at cornerback, is Nazeeh Johnson. We talked about him a lot last year. When we did, it wasn't usually positive. He put some film out there that was less than stellar, certainly, but clearly still has fans, among them Steve Spagnuolo and Dave Merritt, as he has an opportunity, I think a pretty good one, to make this team. How do you judge the cornerback mix right now? It's hard without Christian Fulton part of the mix because he's on the PUP list, but how do you kind of judge the jockeying for position behind Fulton and then, of course, Trent McDuffie, and it looks like Jalen Watson on the outside?
Yeah, it's really interesting because today was the first day that we really saw any movement in the depth chart in any way, and it's hard to identify, which moves and after one day are truly depth chart moves, or they're simply situations. They're wanting a player out there in a specific situation. Today, there was a little bit more work on run, even though I hate when teams, are working on the run game without pads, because it just seems pointless to me, but they were doing it anyway. Andy Reid knows more than I do, so so it's hard to tell if maybe it was just situational football, but Jalen Watson's had been pretty much taking all of the reps opposite Trent McDuffie as the number 2 corner, and more often than not, they obviously were having Chamari Connor be the kind of slot nickel. Interestingly, though, I will throw this in there, even though we're talking about corners. Chamari Connor and Brian Cook have been the starters. Jaden Hicks, that I think a lot of, and I thought was really ready for a big role. He's been kind of the third safety right now. He comes in when they go into nickel and dime situations, and Connor is playing in the slot. That's when Jaden Hicks has been coming in. So I find that a little bit interesting. Today was the first day that we saw Nazeeh Johnson get a little bit of work with the ones at corner. Noel Williams got a little bit of work at run with the corners there. Chris Roland Wallace has been kind of on the fringe. It's pretty obvious that, amongst the corners, at least behind Trent McDuffie, he's the number 1 slot guy. Chamari Connor, I think, is probably going to be the number 1 slot guy. Unless we see a lot of changes going forward. Trent McDuffie has been playing primarily on the outside. Then you kind of get into the, who's on the outs. And, right now it looks like Josh Williams is kind of thoroughly buried on the third team, on the cornerbacks right now. And that's probably fair, because I think if you would look at the consistency of that rookie class of corners between Jalen Watson, Nazeeh Johnson, and Josh Williams, I'd probably put them in that order. And that's kind of where Josh Williams is right now.
Let's flip over to the offensive side of the ball. By all accounts, sound like Jared Wiley had a good day today. Second-year tight end out of TCU, coming off of the knee injury. There was some concern. He wasn't super active during the summer. There was some thought, man, is he going to be ready to go for training camp? Is he going to start on PUP? But he's not only been ready to go, he has been getting some opportunities with the ones and showed out pretty good today, is my understanding. What do you see from Jared Wiley, and what kind of a weapon in the passing game is he? Obviously, some of the college tape looked a little Kelsey-ish, but anybody's going to suffer in comparison to Travis Kelce. What kind of weapon can Jared Wiley be for the Chiefs if he's got the inside track on being their third tight end?
Well, you kind of hit it there, which is that he's kind of Kelsey-ish in the sense that he's got similar type size and at least range. The athleticism, probably not. Nobody's got the athleticism that Travis Kelce does. If he can just mimic and pick up a few of the little things that Travis does, just the way that Travis, runs off and kind of, and rounds out his routes a little bit. Things that he does, his spin moves. I mean, if he can share a few of those things, and I'll tell you what, I mean, I feel like we've seen more of those from Noah Gray this year than we ever have before. Maybe he's finally got some things that are kind of clicking with him a little bit. But Wiley has got that. I mean, Jake Briningstool, I think, has got the same qualities, especially the size and good hands, long arms that can go extend to go get the football. But Wiley has got more experience, a little bit more polish. I think that's why he'd be further ahead for me than Briningstool. And we've seen it. I mean, he had one drop on the first day. After that, I mean, it seems like he's been catching pretty much everything that's come his way. He had a catch today that looked like I didn't even think he was going to catch the football. He had blanket coverage. I don't know how he caught it, but he did a really good job with that. And he's good with the ball, in his hands after catches. I think I like Briningstool's hands a little bit better, but I like Wiley when he's got the ball in space better than probably just about anybody outside of Kelsey and Gray.
Elijah Mitchell's a player whose career has been interrupted by injuries. We've only gotten to see bits and pieces of what he's been capable of over his time with the 49ers and Dolphins. He got the second reps at running back today behind Isaiah Pacheco. What are you observing from Mitchell as far as burst, athleticism? Does he look like a guy who's all the way healthy and could be the kind of athlete that he's shown he could be in fits and starts in the past?
Yeah, I mean, he does look all the way back. I don't see anything in it. There's any hitches in there as far as just the way he moves, the speed, anything like that. He does get the flash speed a little bit. The only thing that I think that, makes me wonder a little bit, I mean, we know about Mitchell's speed. He doesn't look as fast as Brashard Smith. And maybe that's just because Brashard Smith has got exceptional speed and incredible movement. Mitchell is obviously a more polished running back. And I think that's why he's got a good chance to, play a significant role. I mean, if you're going to have a thunder and lightning approach to your running backs, I mean, that would probably be Pacheco and Mitchell. And the real best role for Kareem Hunt, I mean, we're talking about who's going to be the third down back on this team. Kareem Hunt might be the best third down back on this team. I mean, and he's best short yardage back. So maybe that ends up being the role for Hunt. The backup, a guy that, if Pacheco goes down, Hunt's your best likely candidate there as far as a similar runner. But Mitchell and Smith are different styles of guys and different players, and their speed is elite. So I think that's why Mitchell could, if he's healthy, can make a difference. And right now he looks healthy.
A few more questions for Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. He's our Chiefs insider, appears with us every Friday at this time here on 580 Sports Talk. We just talked about Elijah Mitchell and what he showed in terms of his explosiveness. It talked about Brashard Smith and maybe a little bit more raw speed. Are you sensing that there is a little bit more explosion from these Chiefs skill position players? Like as a group, as a whole, does it feel like it might have a little bit more of that burst to you?
Without a doubt. I mean, I don't know if I would quite start putting it into a Legion of Zoom conversation, but this is a more explosive offense. I mean, Rashee Rice has had a great start to camp so far, and yes, there's concern about how many games he may miss with a suspension, so you got to deal with that. But he's looked the part of everything that you hope that he could be as a number one receiver, and what a threat he is once he gets the ball in his hands. I mean, he's big and runs like a running back. But Worthy, Hollywood Brown, their speed pops out. I mean, those guys as deep threats, they're huge. And it seems like that Mahomes has had a lot more success throwing them the football. And for all the turmoil last year, and no one's ever really talked about it, or at least, I mean, when I'm talking about like Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, anybody who would know about whether Patrick was 100% healthy last year. I mean, there's times in training camp I'm like, he couldn't have been 100% healthy last year because he's making throws that I don't know if he was even making last year. They're just, I mean, especially this early in camp, he's just absolutely putting the ball wherever he wants to downfield. And even some of the misfires happened earlier in the week when there was a little bit of wind, but today, he had a couple of times that he just absolutely put in the one spot where his receiver can go get them, just drops into their hands. And that's the key to making your offense look explosive. If you got receivers like that your quarterback can hit, you're going to be able to do some things. And this team, you throw in, like we talked about Elijah Mitchell and Brashard Smith, you add them to the receivers, and yes, this team looks so much faster and so much more dynamic than they looked at any time last year.
Last guy I want to ask about is Travis Kelce. Much made of the fact that he's come into camp a little lighter. He wants to be maybe a little sleeker, maybe a little bit more athletic himself. What are your first observations of 87 as he enters this training camp?
Yeah, I think you see his age on occasion, but it's not during plays. It's like after plays. He probably is just moving a little bit more slowly. Everything, Travis, let's face it, at year 13, he's figured out, how he can kind of save his energy and that he doesn't have to be running all over the place in St. Joe in the middle of the summer. And the Chiefs are managing his workload too, it looks like, a little bit. There's not a lot of back-to-back snaps. It seems like he'll run a route and then come out for a play. Those are all great things that they should be doing to manage him, his workload and just to keep him fresh and healthy. When he's running, he looks like Travis Kelce. I mean, you're seeing him with the same, burst as far as being able to, once he gets the ball, he's off, he's out of there. You see him being able to break open and just create space. There's occasionally a little miscommunication between him and Patrick, because I think it's more just they like the freelance, and sometimes we know their freelance isn't always on target. There's not a perfect, connection there. They don't have 100% ESP. Maybe 95%. But Travis, I think he's looked great. I mean, he does look thinner. He does look I think the burst is still there. It's just, you can't have the dude playing 90% of the snaps. You get him down to like 70. I still stand by what I've been saying. You get his workload down. I think he can be a more productive player than he was last year. Maybe have better numbers than he had last year.
Matt Derrick covers the Kansas City Chiefs for ChiefsDigest.com. He is our Chiefs insider here on 580 Sports Talk. Joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline every Friday at this time. Matt, appreciate your observations from the first week of training camp. Look forward to hearing more of them after next week. Thanks for the time. We'll do it again next week.
Appreciate you, Dan. Take care, my friend.
That is Matt Derrick. We will step aside for a timeout, come back and wrap up this first hour of 580 Sports Talk. On second thought, I was pretty skeptical about the early buzz, Tyquan Thornton making the Chiefs 53-man roster. Now I think he might be as much of a lock as the 5 wide receivers ahead of him on the depth chart. I think the wide receiver room's set for the Chiefs. It sure sounds like Dave Toub is really enamored with Tyquan Thornton. And if he's going to be Tobe's guy in the wide receiver room, then the wide receivers are set, presuming that they keep 6 of them and 4 tight ends, which I think is still a fair assumption. I could be wrong. They could keep Nico Remigio or Sky Moore or somebody like that, but certainly feels like there are 6 wide receivers who are nailed on for week 1 now. Again, pending any suspension for Rashee Rice. Tyquan Thornton's earned it. Good for him. Change of scenery candidate for the Chiefs. Coming up at 4 o'clock hour, we're previewing the Royals Guardians series and talking KU and K-State football. 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2 of 580 Sports Talk. Live and direct on this Friday. Congrats on making it to the end of the week. And thanks for being here with us on the Sports Voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on Facebook at WIBW News. However you're enjoying the show, whenever you're enjoying the show, if you're watching it live, listening live, or you're catching it on our podcast page, on Spotify at 580 Sports Talk, or on our video archive on our YouTube channel, thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero here, Spencer Dupuis across the glass. He's with us for the final 2 hours as well. We'll have some overtime for you a little bit later on. We'll re-rack our conversation with Matt Derrick. Also play you Dave Tobe's audio from earlier today.
No, actually.
No?
It's Omar Norman Lott.
We already played Omar Norman.
We'll
We're going to play it again? Okay. All right.
Timing-wise, it worked out.
Executive decision by the guy who will be hosting overtime.
We had to make it work out timing-wise.
That's
I was
fine.
going to be like, I was going to welcome you into our interview with Matt Derrick for 5 seconds. That's how much time I have.
All right.
So
All right.
It's going to cut it close. So
All
I
right.
figured let's not have any snafus.
Hey, that's overtime. That's coming up between 6 and 6:30. And then, of course, we'll hand you off to the Royals Baseball Network. Royals and Guardians this weekend at the K. It is a big series. It is a big series for this season. It is a big series in some ways for the future of the Kansas City Royals. The future of the franchise is at stake in these 3 games. So it's a big series. We'll talk about it here in a little bit. Some rumor mongering from earlier today we were going to get to, but it's out of date. So we will not actually be talking about, and good. I'm just going to complain about Jim Bowden and why he gets a megaphone with his nonsense that he's always on over at The Athletic. I can't believe Jim Bowden, of all people, gets to just make up fake trades for The Athletic, and that's his whole job. They let Jim Bowden make up fake trades. And he made one up earlier for the Royals. It was really bad. And now it's not even a thing that the other team in the deal would do. We'll
Is it because they already traded the guy?
No, it's because they got a third baseman. Yankees acquired a third baseman earlier today. Ryan McMahon for the Rockies going to the Yankees in one of the early trade deadline deals. We've had some notable ones last 18 hours. We'll get to those in headlines a little later on in the show. Also still to come on the show today, you're going to hear from Nick Bolton. We'll play that audio from Chiefs camp. We're going to talk a little KUK State football later on this hour. We're crowning What Is Wrong With You champion for the week as well. You can interact with the program today, and we want to hear from you. The text line is 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. Also, want to encourage you to join us in the live chat on our YouTube stream. If you are watching on YouTube, 580 Sports Talks, the name of the channel, and you can interact with us in the chat, interact with your fellow listeners in the chat, which is a fun thing to do. Appreciate everybody who's checking us out on YouTube today. And again, the name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. The Royals and the Guardians play for the first time since mid-April tonight. And then they only play one more time the rest of the way. They play a 4-game series in Cleveland mid-September. There are many reasons that I don't like the balanced Major League Baseball schedule. I'm not a fan of the balanced schedule where everybody plays everybody and you get 3 against your interleague rival, or you get 6 against your interleague rival. You get 3 against every other team in the other league. And then it's only 13 division games. It used to be 19 division games. And I miss when division teams played each other more often. I thought that made the division championship mean a little bit more because you were playing, close to, that would be 76 games out of your 162 against your divisional foes. And you would see them more often as a result. And when you see a team more often, what does familiarity breed, Spencer? Contempt.
Contempt.
That's right. So you get more rivalries. You get, little bit of bad feelings, bad blood could rise up when teams played each other more often. I miss that about the unbalanced schedule that Major League Baseball used to offer. And I understand why they do it the way they do it now, because they've got more teams that make the playoffs. They want it to be a fairer playing field, as fair as it can be, and have teams play everybody. Like, I get why it exists in the form that it exists, and me complaining about changing it is not going to change it, because there's just no reversing progress in so many ways. But I liked when it was 76 division games and you played a team 19 times, and it felt like you would play them more often too. Instead, we had opening weekend against the Guardians, then they were in Cleveland for 3 in mid-April, and then they haven't played until this weekend, and then they won't play again until mid-September. I don't like it. It's something else that I complain about that Rob Manfred did to Major League Baseball. Anyway, the Royals and the Guardians meet for 3 this weekend, and the Guardians are actually ahead of the Royals in the standings by a game and a half, but you wouldn't know it based on how the two teams are discussed when it comes to what their plans are at the trade deadline. Everybody thinks Cleveland's selling. There have been rumors about Emmanuel Clase, their all-star closer, finding a new home. Cade Smith, who's every bit as good as Clase in the late innings, being a guy who would be in demand as a reliever with several years of team control. I think it was John Heyman who reported earlier this week that a team had called, and maybe multiple teams had called, to see if Stephen Kwan might be available, which every other team in the American League Central is like, yeah, please get that dude out of the division. Stephen Kwan is such a pain. He's a great player, Gold Glover, all-star, and a very difficult out. One of those guys that walks more than he strikes out. But a lot of talk about Cleveland selling as a team that enters tonight 51-51, while the Royals are thought of as a team that's likely to buy, despite the fact that they're 50-53 and a game and a half behind Cleveland and 2 back of them in the loss column. The main reason for this, I think, is a difference in organizational mindset. Cleveland has been perennially competitive, really, for the last, let's call it, 20 years, when they kind of got serious about being guy. They were great through the 90s. Then they took a big step back. Then they were really good again in 2005 and just missed the playoffs. Should have gone to the World Series in 2007. If they had, the Rockies would have won a World Series that year. Instead, they had to blow the 3-1 lead, lose to Boston. I've never forgiven them for it. And then they were stinky for a while again. But then 2013, they started a run where they've been to the postseason 7 times in the last 12 years. So this is a team that is a perennial October team. And they can look at their roster, and they can look at the reality of their situation and the likelihood or lack thereof to make the postseason and say, you know what, this is a year where we maybe consolidate, we maybe make some trades. We trust our player development mechanisms, particularly on the pitching side. We can be really good again in 2026. We hang on to core guys like Jose Ramirez, who, by the way, Jason Stark did a whole thing about which active players are going to the Hall of Fame and which active players are really close to securing a Hall of Fame vote. And Jose Ramirez wasn't on either of those lists. What? Jose Ramirez is absolutely going to the Hall of Fame. And I'm not just saying that because I've watched him bludgeon the Royals every time he faces them for the last handful of years. Jose Ramirez is going to be a 300 third baseman. There aren't any of those. 300 home runs, 300 steals. He's an all-time great third baseman, Jose Ramirez. And like, he's gotten better into his 30s. There's an argument like he's better than he's ever been right now, which insane. I love Jose Ramirez. What a player. Definite Hall of Famer, if you ask me. Anyway, they know that they can reload around him and probably Stephen Kwan, and they got a bunch of young pitching that if they trade some relievers and are able to get some good value, teams always overpay for relief at the deadline, then they could be in good shape and they can be right back competitive in 2026. The division allows for that, and their player development allows for that. The Royals, on the flip side, are different, right? The Royals are trying their best to maximize what has been in the last 30 plus years of the franchise, a relatively rare opportunity to excite their fans and play meaningful pennant race baseball. And I've read your comments in the YouTube chat, and I've read your texts over the last week. Not a lot of believers in the Royals amongst you listeners right now, it would seem. A lot of you do not believe. A lot of you do not think this is a playoff team. A lot of you think the prudent course of action is to sell. I mostly agree with you, but I think that the front office perspective and J.J. Piccolo's perspective might be different for very valid reasons. They might feel an obligation to Bobby Witt Jr. They might feel an obligation to Salvador Perez to try and make this team as competitive as they can and take a shot, even if it is a shot without much chance of hitting its mark. And maybe, just maybe, they feel like they owe it to you. They feel like they owe it to you, the fan, because 7 playoff appearances in the last 12 years for the Cleveland Guardians. Many times, how far back you have to go for 7 playoff appearances, the last 7 playoff appearances in Royals history? You have to go back to 1980. They've been in the playoffs 7 times in 44 years.
Wow.
Yeah. To call it a fallow period between 1986 and 2014 would be underselling it. It was a long time. They won a World Series and then didn't go back to the playoffs for, you all know the story. So this is not a franchise historically that has had a lot of opportunities to go make something happen at the trade deadline and try their best to play meaningful August and September baseball games. So maybe this is a franchise, and this is an owner in John Sherman, that feels like they owe it to you a little bit. It feels like they owe you fans the opportunity to watch a team that has done its best to be competitive. And you know what? If that's their mindset, that's a mindset I applaud, frankly. I don't know. I'm not privy to what's in the text threads, what's in the group chat with JJ and Matt Quatrero and John Sherman. I don't know if they have a group chat. I'm spitballing here. But I'm not privy to anything in the back rooms. But if the Royals end up buyers, I think that's part of the equation. The fact that this is not an opportunity that has presented itself very frequently in the modern history of the organization. And with the opportunity, and I'm talking about, I know what the playoff odds are. According to Baseball Reference today, they're less than 5%. I know what the playoff odds say. But to even have playoff odds that good at this stage, you know how many years it was that was not the case? A lot of those years between 1986 and 2024, more years than not, there was nothing you were going to do in September to give yourself a pulse. You were just flatlined all the way through the trade deadline. This is a little different. And it's a team, again, whose highs have been high enough, not just this year, but last, that you can talk yourself into the idea of them going on a run, winning 10 of 12, and all of a sudden they've got one of the wild card spots. So that's why we talk about these teams differently, right in the here and now. I think it's an organizational philosophy thing. It's a Guardians team that probably feels like, hey, we take a step back. That's all right. Our fans will swallow that. And we can be competitive in 2026 because our fan base trusts that we're perennially competitive. I don't know that the Royals feel like they've got that equity with the fan base, and maybe feels like, for the average ticket buyer, the average television viewer, and you folks who are listeners, and you folks who are YouTube viewers, and you folks who are commenters and texters, you're not the average fan, right? You're savvier, you're smarter. How do we know that? You listen to us, right? That's the punchline there. But you're more tend towards the diehard side of being a fan. You're going to be there. And that's not the average ticket buyer. That's not the average fan. That's just not how they operate. So you got to operate a little bit with them in mind, I think. And maybe that's what the Royals are doing here. But The other reason I think that we talk about the Royals and the Guardians differently is because the Royals are better than the Guardians. I know what the records say right now, but if you look at the 26-man roster of the Kansas City Royals and the 26-man roster of the Cleveland Guardians, I'm taking the Royals. Like, honest to goodness, I will take the Royals guys before I will take the Guardians guys. The Guardians have a worse run differential than the Royals do, a worse record in the Pythag win percentage, which just measures basically what your record would be with a normal distribution of runs scored and runs allowed. So if you allow more runs than you score, you should have a record below 500, as the Royals do and have. They are minus 22 in the run differential column, and they're minus 3 in the win column. But the Guardians are 500 despite having allowed 35 more runs than they have scored so far this year. So that's one measure that suggests the Royals are better. The Royals have 4 above average offensive players in their everyday lineup. Cleveland's only got 3, and they got 3 and then a bunch of dudes who aren't even really close. Like Jose Ramirez and Steven Kwan and Kyle Manzardo, opening day villain for the Royals this year. And that's it. Like, that's what Cleveland's got offensively. They've had a bunch of guys. Carlos Santana finally looks like he's 39 years old. David Fry was an all-star last year. He was definitely not an all-star this year. Lane Thomas has been hurt and bad. John Kenzie Noel, big Christmas. Remember him? Thanks for the memories. John Kenzie's chilling, I think, in AAA because he was hitting 140 for the Guards this year. Like, it's a bad offense. It's a worse offense than the Royals, which, as we know, not exactly murderer's row. And I think the Kansas City pitching staff is much better than the Cleveland pitching staff, where the Guardians have had some young guys not take leaps forward this year. Tanner Bybee's just been okay. Gavin Williams has the best ERA of the bunch, but he also leads baseball in walks. They are a team, much like last year, that is extremely dependent on their bullpen holding on to close games late. And with Clase and Cade Smith, they do that, but they've got fewer of those leads this year because the lineup isn't as good and the starting pitching isn't as good. I think Kansas City's a better team. I think they should win this series. I think the pitching matchups line up pretty well for them. Cleveland's going to run 3 young guys out there with live arms, but the results haven't been great. Gavin Williams tonight, Tanner Bybee tomorrow, Joey Cantillo on Sunday. Royals are going with Michael Wacha, who's been steady as she goes, and then arguably their 2 best guys, Chris Bubich and Noah Cameron. So I like the Royals' chances to come out of this weekend with a series win. And if they come out with a series win, they're definitely buying. They're definitely going to be working the phones.
Yeah, I think this is a huge possibility. If they can hit this weekend and the pitching turns out to be as good as it's been, I mean, especially your top 2 guys going on the weekend, I think there's a chance the Royals can sweep this series.
And I also think that should they sweep the series, by the way, as Mark H. points out in the YouTube comments, they'd be back at 500. And
they jump the Guardians.
Yes, they would absolutely jump the Guardians, probably bury the Guardians. At that point,
yeah,
Guardians would be toast. And certainly they would be looking to probably the relievers. I don't know that they'd trade anybody else. I don't know anybody else has a lot of trade value for them. Maybe Austin Hedges for like defense and vibes behind the plate, but if he's even still on the roster. But yeah, I would think Cleveland series loss all but certainly would make them sellers. Royals sweep, they're definitely buying because they're back to 500 at that point. The other thing, too, that's worth watching going into this weekend in the American League Central, you know who's been playing like cheeks for a little while? The Detroit Tigers. Don't know if anybody's noticed because the Tigers built that monster lead in the Central Division. They're just 7-12 in the month of July. And they're in a stretch where they've lost 10 of 11. They got bombed last night at home against Toronto, who now all of a sudden has the best record in the American League, the Toronto Blue Jays of all teams. They got 3 more with Toronto at home this weekend. And yeah, I know Scooble's going to start one of them, so they'll probably win at least one. But that's a team in a little bit of a funk. And remember last year how the Royals reeled in the Guardians? Remember how many games back they were, and then they caught them by the end of August? That happened. There's a lot that can still happen in 60-odd games in 2 months of baseball. And I think the Royals have put themselves in a spot and have assembled enough high-end talent where they can feel like, hey, yeah, we do the right things on the field. If we force the hand of J.J. Piccolo to go and buy at the trade deadline, then that's what this front office will do. That's what this ownership group will support. They will give us that chance if we force the issue. How do you do that? You win this weekend. You get at least 2 out of 3 this weekend. You don't, then I think if you're J.J. Piccolo and John Sherman and the Brain Trust, you have to start thinking about, man, we got to see if there's something out there that makes us better in 2026 and beyond. We're going to take a timeout here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, we got a What Is Wrong With You champion for the week to crown. Our last full week champion of the month of July. We'll have a short week champ next week. We'll crown a July champion on What Is Wrong With You next week. We got 2 stories this week. One revolting. The other is actually from the sports world. And they'll try and take down Charles Embezzlement Cheese, and probably won't. But come on back with us for What Is Wrong With You anyway on 580 Sports Talk. What is Wrong With You on 580 Sports Talk is presented, as always, by our guy Mo, State Farm Agent Ryan Mo Winkle. Give him a call today, 785-273-1572, should you wind up on the wrong side of somebody's What Is Wrong With You story. Our current champion for the week, we're going to throw the graphic up on our YouTube channel again, 580 Sports Talk. Charles Embezzlement Cheese.
This thing is still going viral.
Oh, it's so funny. The guy playing the Chuck E. Cheese mascot in Jacksonville got popped for credit card fraud. He found a missing credit card. Some mom had left it there after their kid's birthday party and charged $105 worth of charges to it. Also had some weed on him, but like honestly, I'd expect that from anybody playing Chuck E. Cheese. Like,
Yeah.
At some point, that's got to be considered part of the costume. But
also, he's done it before.
Yeah, he's got a rap sheet. The picture of Charles E. Cheese being escorted out of the Chuck E. Cheese in front of horrified children who were there for a birthday party is truly one of the funnier visuals we've ever had on What Is Wrong With You. I said it was the visual of the year. I know it did not disappoint. I firmly believe it's an all-time visual. It's right up there with the meat suitcase that won a couple of years back. Just an all-time great visual. Trying to think of something else. We had the snowman with the penis from last year. Was that earlier this year? No, that was last year. It was December of last year. We had that one. We had the one where the woman said that she had like debilitating back pain and couldn't get out of bed, but she was participating in like tree stump throwing contest.
Yeah.
They had a picture of her like tossing the tree stump in the air. It looked like a commercial for like Ubrelvy or one of those prescription drugs. That one slayed me. There have been some good visuals is what I'm saying, but few better than Charles Embezzlement Cheese. That is our current weekly champion on What Is Wrong With You. We got 2 news stories today. Mine from the world of sports, where we meet former University of Memphis safety Taj Rael, who apparently gave UTSA's quarterback the team's defensive playbook ahead of last year's November 2nd game. Tiger Sports Report, an On3 network website, reported multiple sources alleging Rael leaked elements of the defensive playbook before the game. UTSA won that game, by the way, 44-36. Since then, the alleged conversation between Rael and UTSA quarterback Owen McCown has been obtained by Tiger Sports Report. If you're thinking, hey, that's a familiar last name, yep, Owen is Josh's son. Josh, the former NFL journeyman backup, who is currently the quarterback's coach of the Minnesota Vikings. Owen McCown, for his part, spent his first couple of years in college at Colorado, where he was a well-regarded prospect, but what he was not was Deion's son, so he transferred to UTSA. Anyway, it's unbelievable the fact that these exist. We'll throw them up on the YouTube here because it's pretty damning. You can see Rael send the pictures of the playbook and say to Owen McCown, here you go, though. That's all the signals. Owen McCown responds with 3 crying emojis. 4 crying, sobbing, laughing emojis. The DMs continue from Rael. Far left is coverages. I'll send you better lists showing you the call, but they run quarters and none of they safeties can cover, by the way. So, that was a guy who played for Memphis, sending the Memphis playbook to UTSA. He had been previously dismissed from the team. If you were wondering about a motive, he had left the team and not dismissed from the team. So he said, I'm just gonna dime out my teammates, hook up the UTSA quarterback. Rael is currently on the roster at Purdue.
The real thing is, so this screenshot came from, unless somebody hacked into his account, this came from Rael's account.
Yeah.
Because it shows Owen McCown's name as if he is the person it's going to.
So I have no idea how Tiger Sports Online was able to acquire these screenshots. But guy giving away his own team's playbook. I guess his former team at that point, if he was dismissed from the team, but still not a cool thing to do. And I don't know how in the world his Purdue teammates are supposed to trust him after this story's out there. Anyway.
Bad luck.
Yeah, real bad luck. So that's our first story today. Your story's gross. Spencer, give it to us.
Yes, apparently this was a thing in 2023. A man who has been arrested multiple times for sniffing women's rear ends while in public was arrested again this week for, yet again, sniffing rear ends of women in public. Khalees Crowder, 38, was arrested Tuesday by officers from the Burbank Police Department at the Walmart there in Burbank. Police had originally responded to the nearby Nordstrom rack in the same shopping center for a report of a suspicious man loitering in the women's department. When officers arrived on scene, they were informed that the suspect had already left the department store, but he was located a short while later at the Walmart across the parking lot. Officers used the store security camera system to follow the man as he moved around various departments, then observed him following a female customer into the women's department. Officers observed the man as he crouched behind the women and engaged in, quote, lewd behavior by inappropriately sniffing her buttocks, end quote. Police confronted the man and eventually detained him. It was later revealed that he was Calise Crowder, a resident of Glendale and a registered sex offender.
Oh,
Crowder
you don't
is
say.
on active parole and has had documented history of similar incidents for similar crimes.
So revolting.
Yeah, he made national headlines back in August of 2023 for committing the same act on a woman at a Barnes & Noble store, also in Burbank.
So
he went viral on TikTok.
So it's really hard to beat a story in which the headline starts with serial butt sniffer.
Yeah.
And for that story to not, in turn, be about a golden retriever. Right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, serial butt sniffer. Ha ha, it's George the Labrador puppy from down the hall who is annoying to all the women, but he just has to go to obedience training.
Yeah.
Now, this is a dude. And that's what he likes to do is sniff the buttocks of strange women in public. That's horrifying. I hate that those words came out of my mouth in the order in which they did. That wins today. That does not beat Charles Entertainment Cheese.
Yeah. He also had a set of bail for $100,000 and expect to be back in court on August 1st. So long rap sheet.
Jeffrey said,
100. You sniff butts and you get $100,000. That's good.
Jeffrey,
you don't want this guy back.
Jeffrey said he's on the offender list at the Humane Society. The YouTube comment. That's pretty good.
But yeah, it doesn't beat our
Charles Embezzlement Cheese. We've got it on the YouTube channel again, 580 Sports Talk. It's so good. I didn't blur the faces out of the children. Whoever did that in the back, really amateurish job of whiting out the pic, because I've seen that picture unedited, but I appreciate the effort of making sure that we protect the innocence of the children who had their birthday party rudely interrupted. What could you get for $105 at Chuck E. Cheese? Like, let's pretend he spent it there. What if he got found the debit card and is like, yeah, you know what? I want to play some skee ball.
Yeah.
I want to get a giant pepperoni pizza.
I want to get like 20 giant pepperoni pizzas or 15.
A pitcher of beer, and I'm going to play Papa Shot all night. I'm going to do it on this lady's dime.
Do they sell beer at regular Chuck E. Cheese? I don't think so.
So I've not been to a regular Chuck E. Cheese in a very long time.
There is one right down Wanamaker.
There is. I've not been to that one. Maybe one day Asher will want to go. So true story. When I was a kid, the local Chuck E. Cheese, I think I had a birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese when I was like 4. That Chuck E. Cheese ended up being the site of a triple murder. Yes. Very newsworthy, notable event in Aurora, Colorado history, the Chuck E. Cheese murders. So that never reopened.
Yeah, I can see that not happening.
And, when you hear about, I think it happened when I was like 4 or 5, kind of made you not want to go back to a Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh, yeah.
So I as a kid, that was the end of the Chuck E. Cheese experience for me. So I don't know. It feels like a place where they should sell beer.
According to Paul K. In the YouTube comments, Topeka's Chuck E. Cheese does have a draft system.
Hell yeah. Listen, we might have, I don't know if it has the animatronic animals anymore, if that's just not a thing anymore, but we might have to get Asher interested. Go get some pizza, beer, and skee ball and Papa Shot going. Because one thing about me is I'm going to play some Papa Shot. Charles Entertainment Cheese, Charles Embezzlement Cheese is our winner for the week on What Is Wrong With You, sponsored by State Farm agent Ryan Mowinkle. Check out his website, Ryan Mowinkle. That's MOHWINKLE.com. We'll step aside for a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little KU and K-State camp, because the Chiefs aren't the only football team that is practicing. KU and K-State are underway. Some thoughts on some interesting and important position groups for the Jayhawks and Wildcats next on 580 Sports Talk. 442 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Spencer with you. The YouTube commentary at remembering child-friendly pizza places of yore. I think there was a Showbiz Pizza in the area where I grew up. I think that sounds familiar to me, but I don't know if I ever went to one of those. What was the spot growing up for you? What was the birthday party spot?
Oh, Laser Nation.
Okay, so you're the laser tag generation.
Oh my God, that was my favorite birthday. I've probably had 3 or 4 birthdays there
in a row.
Yeah,
I love that.
Or like spread over like a 4 or 5 year span. I had 3 like easily, and everybody I knew, it was always a thing to do because of like my really good friends. We all had birthdays in different times of the year. So it was mine was December. Somebody else's was May. There was an August, or there's a June, and there's a September. So it's kind of spread out to enough to where like every like
you knew when somebody's birthday was coming up.
Like I could be in December, have mine at Laser Nation, and somebody in September could have theirs at Laser Nation too. So
okay,
no,
I respect that. No, when a lot of like youth group sort of things would be at Laser Tag. Laser Quest was what it was called. We had Laser Quest. Team parties at the end of like basketball, like rec basketball or league baseball. You had your team party at a Laser Quest, birthday parties at Laser Quest. That is a kind of thing. Like those places are mostly gone now, it feels like. But those places would be so much more fun to me now as a 38-year-old because I could take out all the little snot-nosed 10-year-olds in there. More fun now than when I was the snot-nosed 10-year-old and I was getting fragged by the adults that were in there and just, yeah, man. Laser tag rocked. I also, when I was younger, there was a place called Discovery Zone. This is maybe 90s kids remember Discovery Zone, but Discovery Zone was basically like if you took a McDonald's play place and it was the size of like a warehouse, like,
oh yeah,
ball pits, slides, climbing, like trampolines, like that was the Discovery Zone. And so I remember that so vividly as a kid that we have the Discovery Center here in Topeka. I just took Asher there for the first time with my wife last week. And I always call it the Discovery Zone, not on purpose, but when I think of Discovery blank, that's my mind takes me to Discovery Zone. And Abby finally asked, like, why do you keep calling it Discovery Zone? I said, do you not remember Discovery Zone? Was there not one like here or Kansas City or that you ever like went to go to the Discovery Zone? Because like I remember where the Discovery Zone was. The Discovery Zone was next to the hardware store, which was at the time Builders Square. That's not in the league anymore.
Yeah, we also had a trampoline place. I can't remember what it was called, but like I had a couple birthdays there.
Sure. They still got the trampoline places are still out there. Like we still got one over at West Ridge Mall for the kiddos here in Topeka. But yeah, she had no idea what Discovery Zone was. I found her the jingle. Like they used to advertise on Nickelodeon all the time. And I was singing along with DZ, the Discovery Zone. I was singing along and everything. Yeah. So that was the birthday party spot. That and the, laser tag, Laser Quest. Yeah, that was a good time. Now everybody's talking pizza in the comments. I know you're a pizza guy. What's kind of become your go-to here in Topeka? We're doing a little random question Friday, I guess.
Glory days.
Hell yeah, brother. Glory days is very good.
Also, you can't beat you. This is gonna sound very cliche and very like what the heck. You can't beat Sam's Club pizza.
Listen,
you can't beat $8.98 for a pizza.
Look, if you've got
not gonna lie, we have a little date night planned out tonight for a little Happy Gilmore 2 action.
Oh, nice!
And Olivia
I love it.
Olivia has picked up a Sam's Pizza.
There you go.
Because the problem is, I would pick up a Sam's Pizza, but the app never works after 5:30 to buy a pizza. For some reason,
that's weird.
Yeah. Well, they won't allow whole pizza orders after 5:30.
Yeah, I'm in on Glory Days. 1043 is real good. Like every now and again though, like there's nothing like my wife will just love like every now and again get me like a thin and crispy from Pizza Hut, and we'll go get a thin and crispy from Pizza Hut. And she loves that. So I'm not a pizza snob. I'll enjoy it from anywhere. I have a bad pizza. Let me put it to you that way. I have a bad pizza in the capital city. So I appreciate the commentary giving us a little something to freestyle about. Again, join in the YouTube chat. Join in all the reindeer fun. over at our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. You can text the show, 785-272-9429. Have a texter who tells us their first job was at the old Chuck E. Cheese here in Topeka at the Gage Shopping Center where the gas station is now. So, love that. But I need to know, texter, did you have to wear the head? Were you Charles Entertainment Cheese? Now I'm curious, and now I need an answer from the text line. So if that was you, 785 texter who worked at Chuck E. Cheese, let us know. Or if you out there listening were ever the mascot for a fast food restaurant of some kind. And the answer is yes. Thank you. It was Showbiz Pizza Palace. And yes, they did. Yes, they did wear the head. I love it. I love it. Great. That's awesome. Thank you for responding. Thank you for that on the text line, 785-272-9429. I want to talk some Big 12 football here real quick. KU, K-State, both in camp. I think there are position groups in camp that are most important, and I think there are the ones that are the most interesting. And I think that important and interesting mean two different things. Important in that you've got position battles and you're looking for guys to emerge at the position because it's been a position where either it's been a position of weakness where you've got to improve, or it's a position where you lost a lot of your production from last year. Like for KU, and Michael Swain's been on this really since all summer, through spring practice and all through the summer, and now as we open fall camp for KU, it's the linebacker spot. KU has overhauled the linebacker room. They really hit it hard in the transfer portal. They brought in Bengali Kamara. They brought in Joseph Sipp Jr. They brought in Trey Lathan. They have really hit that position group hard and tried to raise the athleticism ceiling at the position. I thought Cornell Wheeler had a good year last year. He got dinged up, and KU really missed him because he was the best guy in the linebacker room, and when he wasn't out there, you could kind of notice the difference. So they certainly need more depth at the linebacker spot, but that will be a fascinating one to see who emerges there. I think for K-State, it's the defensive line. They have to replace Brendan Mott, and they have to replace 8.5 sacks, the defensive lineman of the year in the Big 12. There are a lot of guys I think are really intriguing. We've talked in the last couple of weeks about Ryan Davis. He seems to be the guy with the most buzz coming out of the summer with an opportunity to earn some more playing time. We've seen Travis Bates. We've seen Chidi Obiizor. Tobi Osunsanmi is a really exciting prospect if he can win more one-on-ones because he's the most explosive guy coming off the edge on third down. And he had the really fun sack celebration, the glitch where he just freezes in place. Like, that was super cool. And I'm like, man, I want to see more of that. And then I think he had like one sack the rest of the year after the opening game. Like, the athleticism is obviously there for Toby. He's got to get a little stronger. He's got to be able to defeat in offensive linemen in one-on-one scenarios and get to the quarterback. But there's a lot of guys there that are a possibility. There are a lot of guys who are poised to break out. Who's it going to be? Who's going to be the breakout guy? Because K-State's going to need that, because it will take the pressure off of another position group that's replacing a lot, has a lot of production to replace, and that's the secondary. You take the pressure off of a young and inexperienced cornerback group if you can impact the quarterback before he can get the ball out. So defensive line, to me, most important position group for K-State. As far as most interesting position groups, I think they're both pass catchers, but in a different way. We've talked about KU's receivers. The looks in the eyes of the KU players at Big 12 Media Day, whenever they talked about Emmanuel Henderson, stars in their eyes, like asking a 16-year-old about their first girlfriend. Like that puppy love look, that starstruck, oh, he's wonderful. Like that kind of talk about Emmanuel Henderson. They're starstruck by him and what he can be, his athleticism, his ability to win off the line of scrimmage. It's a dimension that KU really didn't have much of. They're deep in the room. They have to develop the rapport with Jalen Daniels that the veteran guys on last year's team had. That's a tough thing to replace. But athletically, this should be a more athletic and more explosive group of wide receivers. So very fascinating to see how that group comes out. At K-State, I think it's the tight ends, because I think that might be the most competitive room as far as who's going to see the field, who's going to earn the playing time. Garrett Oakley's going to be the starter. Braden Lofton, I think, is the best receiver in the bunch. Will Ancio was great at the goal line last year. It was a touchdown maker in red zone situations. And, oh, yeah, you got the number one tight end in the country in that room in the freshman Lincoln Cure, and you're not going to be able to keep him off the field.
No, I mean, I saw a video from practice yesterday, and he was running with the ones, and he looked like he was no different. He didn't look like he was going to be a true freshman.
Didn't look out of place, right?
Yeah.
Looks the part, passes the eye test, however you want to say it. No, you're not going to keep him off the field. There's a lot of really good players at that position. And so I think K-State, going to run a lot of 2 tight end stuff. Maybe they make like the Chiefs, run some 3 tight end stuff. They do that. I think it makes their running game potentially more dynamic and makes the offense a lot of fun. It'll be really interesting to see how that playing time shakes out in what I think is the best tight end room in the Big 12. And I don't think it's a stretch to call it the best tight end room in the country. We'll take a break, come back, play a little Change My Mind to wrap up the 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk next. All right, Spencer Dupuis. Change my mind. The Royals are better than the Guardians.
I think if you give me game 1 and game 3 of this week against the Cubs and you assort that out over the season, I think they are. I think they've got better, for the most part, starting pitching, and I think they have better top end hitters.
They have more top end hitters. I would certainly say that. Like, I'd take Jose Ramirez over any non-Bobby Witt Jr. player on the Royals, but the Royals do have 4 guys with OPS pluses over 100 in their everyday lineup. The Guardians only have 3. Now, you'd like more than that. It's why these teams are where they are, that they don't have more than that. But no, I think the only clear advantage on a, position group for position group basis that Cleveland has is the bullpen. But I'll take Kansas City starting pitching, and I will take their offense above Cleveland's. You got to change my mind?
Yes. When things are all said and done this year, I think Najee Johnson is more than just a special teamer.
Yeah, it sure seems like he's going to make the team. I moved him into my lock category. If you heard at the top of the show, I now consider him to be a 53-man roster lock. And like I said, second year back from the ACL, maybe we see a little bit more of that athleticism.
Yeah.
Did it look like he was the same guy to you that he was at Marshall last year coming
No,
off?
he was getting beaten more than I thought he ever got beat in Marshall.
Yeah, and some of it's the NFL, but I do think some of that could have been injury related as well. If he recovers well, he can certainly contribute. We got a lot of headlines, plus Nick Bolton and a preview of the Royals next 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 3 of 580 Sports Talk on a Friday. It's our final hour of the day. It's our final hour of the week. So glad you're here on 580 Sports Talk, on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and of course on our video channels, our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, our Facebook page, WIBW News. I am Dan Lucero, and out of breath, Spencer Dupuis across the class.
Trying to get overtime ready.
Sorry.
I looked at the clock and it said 5:04, and I was like, I got a minute and a half.
You know, for the people who are the best for the benefit of the people who are watching the show on YouTube, Spencer came flying around the court. I knew you could move like that, man.
Hey,
I'll be honest.
I heard
cooking.
I heard the legal ID play, and I was like, oh my gosh, it is time to get back.
Those of us in the sports radio business, we don't like move fast, right? Like we're not in a business, we're not in a scenario where we're going to have to be particularly nimble. But you put us up against the clock, and all of a sudden we look like offensive linemen as the pulling guard. We look like a pulling guard trying to get down the field, wipe out the linebacker. That's what we look like.
The worst part is I thought this would take like 4 minutes, not like 8.
Yeah, it'd be like that sometimes.
So I was like, oh, I'll be able to refill my water when I get back.
No.
Now I'm out of breath
Now
and
you're
don't
out of
have
breath
any
and
water.
you're thirsty, and the double whammy. Spencer Dupuis is across the glass. We're so glad you're here on 580 Sports Talk. Thank you for joining us. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, or if you are listening in the more traditional sense to the program, 580 WIBW FM 104.9. We got one more hour today. We got some overtime, as Spencer mentioned, before we hand the ball off to the Kansas City Royals radio network, Royals baseball network, excuse me. The Royals and the Guardians tonight. First of the 3-game series at Kauffman Stadium, a 7:10 first pitch, so pregame coverage starting at 6:30. We'll get more into that, give you the lineups as we go along this hour of 580 Sports Talk. We're also going to play you Nick Bolton's remarks from earlier today in St. Joe, the Chiefs middle linebacker, the green dot on the Chiefs defense, spoke to the media today, and we'll hear from Nick Bolton. We'll also continue our countdown to Chiefs kickoff. We are 42 days away. Number 42 for the Chiefs is Carson Steele. So a quick thought on the second-year fullback, I suppose you would call him, for the Kansas City Chiefs. And we're jam-packed full of headlines this hour as well. The number to text is 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. You can also get at us in the YouTube chat. Again, the name of the YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk. Or Tyler points out, if you're running, you're working too hard. That is generally true. You know when that is not true? When you have a toddler and they get around the corner and you hear a door shut.
No.
Asher is in a very mischievous stage where he thinks it's hysterical to go into the main bathroom and shut the door behind him and just laugh. Like, Asher, get out of the toilet. Asher, definitely don't open that door. Asher, please do not pull on the toilet paper. The dispenser is going to come off the wall. Like, please stop it. And he won't do it. And it's impossible to be mad at him because he's 13 months old and he's adorable. And so, I try to follow him in there, and then he'll shut the door behind both of us. So it's like, oh, are we having a meeting of the cool guy club? My mom and my wife will stand outside and say, oh, no, you're having a meeting without me, and try to make a whole thing out of it. And Asher's like, yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. It's a cool guy club. Mom's not invited. It's exactly what's happening. So that's the latest development.
I just watched myself
parenting
back on the live stream.
Oh, I bet that's pretty funny.
You're like looking over here like, where is he?
Yeah,
where is he?
I made a face. I definitely like, well, I guess we're
Sports Talk opens on. It's playing.
I guess we're starting without him. Anyhow, get at us in the YouTube chat. We appreciate hearing from you. Let's get into our 580 Sports Talk headlines because there are a lot of them today. And we began with the news that broke last night, the statement from University of Kansas Athletics. Quote, Kansas men's basketball coach Bill Self felt unwell and experienced some concerning symptoms Thursday. He was transported to Lawrence Memorial Hospital, where he had 2 stents inserted. The procedure went very well, and he's expected to make a full recovery. He is in good spirits and expects to be released from the hospital soon. First of all, we're glad to hear that by all accounts, Coach Self is doing well and hopefully feeling better and hopefully able to be released from the hospital as soon as possible. This is particularly concerning for 3 reasons. Number one, this is in the context, of course, of the heart issue that he had back in 2022 that meant that he could not be on the sideline during the NCAA tournament. Number two, the context of the use of the word concerning in the press release. Typically, you try to soft pedal things in the press release. So I think the fact that it out there that they were concerned. And third, they were concerned enough that they didn't get him to KU Med in Overland Park. They took him to LMH and they got him looked after in town, which again, that kind of conveys, I think, the urgency of the situation. CJ Moore, friend of the program, college basketball writer for The Athletic, had noted on there was a Blue Sky exchange where he had posted the story, and mutual acquaintance of ours had posted essentially the same kind of, man, this is really concerning, especially, in the context of what happened in 2022. And by all accounts, he'd been doing interviews. Bill Self has been, doing in podcast interviews, conversations this offseason, talking about how good he's felt physically. And CJ posted in response to that, I was with him earlier today and he seemed fine. So this is really something. This isn't something that like over a day or two, it became I guess I should see the doctor. Yeah. This seems to be something. Either Bill Self has a tremendous poker face around the media, which is certainly possible.
I mean, he could,
but like he also has a good relationship with CJ. I don't think he'd, I don't think he'd snowball CJ like that. So this is something that came out of nowhere. And again, just hoping for the best health-wise for Bill Self. And I know this will raise a new round of speculation about his coaching future, because we had these same conversations when he had to miss the NCAA tournament in 2022. And there have been whispers, there have been things that have been said that, aren't real verifiable, not really from, firsthand sources, things of that nature. A lot of whispers, a lot of questions, things like that. And it's not responsible, I don't think, to do a whole lot of speculating in this particular forum. But my hope for Bill Self is that he gets to finish his coaching career, whether that's tomorrow, whether that's after this season, or whether that's 5 years, 10 years down the road. I just hope he gets to finish it on his own terms. And when you're dealing with a health scare as serious as this, when you're dealing with matters of the heart in a literal sense, not a rom-com sense, in a literal sense, you don't know if it's going to be your health that has ultimately the final say on how long you can do what it is that you do. So that is my hope for Bill Self. They're my 2 hopes for Bill Self. One is that he is indeed healthy. One is that he does indeed is indeed able to return to his duties and return to full health very soon. And the other is that whenever he decides that he doesn't want to be a coach anymore, that he gets to make that decision, that his health doesn't make that decision for him. That is my hope. And so that is the news from last night. Send our best wishes. No, everybody listening sends their best wishes to the head coach of the Jayhawks. In other KU basketball news, they added a player to their roster today. A guard from Canada by the name, it appears his nickname is G, and is what I believe he goes by. G Ngala is the young man's name. And I say young man, he's actually 25, and there's one website out there that claims he's actually 26. Not a big guard, no NCAA experience. He played at the college level in Canada. He's 5'10". He can run a little point. He can shoot a little three. If it sounds like an older Canadian version of Diggy Coit, you're probably on track. That is what KU has added in G Ngala. Again, his first name is one that I would almost certainly mispronounce. I couldn't find a pronunciation guide for it, but I did watch a post-game interview where the interview referred to him as G Ngala. So if it's good enough for that, it's good enough for us today. G Ngala is the newest member of the Kansas basketball roster. They do have one roster spot open if they do choose to fill it, but G Ngala is And Bill Self spoke early this week about if they had more players, what are they looking for? An older player with experience who can handle the ball a little bit. That's what they have here. So that's your KU basketball news for today. Next headline, Spencer Dupuis.
Yeah, we're going to go, what is that, an hour, 40 minutes west? We're going to go to Manhattan, Kansas State. Women's basketball head coach Jeff Mittie has added an international talent of their own to the 2025-2026 roster as, I'm going to try this one, Nasia Klaasiens from Belgium has signed with the Wildcats, a forward most recently helping the Belgian senior national team win the 2025 FIBA Women's Eurobasket in June, where she averaged 5.2 points, shooting over 52% from the field and 42.9% from beyond the arc, about 2 rebounds in that game. She was also drafted in the 2024 WNBA draft in the 3rd round, 30th overall by the Washington Mystics. But she elected to not sign with Washington and keep her options open. And that opportunity has now led her to come to Kansas State for the 25-26 season.
So this is super interesting. More so than I can hear you. If you're not a fan of women's basketball, you're thinking, why bring up a women's basketball headline here? This is the interesting aspect of it. This is a player whose draft rights are, I believe, still spoken for in the WNBA. Like if she were to decide she wanted to play professionally, the draft rights would still be owned by the team that drafted her. That's a thing that we're very familiar with in the NBA, right? The draft and stash, so to speak. NBA teams will draft foreign prospects. Mostly happens in the 2nd round with the expectation that that player will stay in Europe, will develop maybe for another year, and then when they're ready for the NBA or when their team is ready for them to have a roster spot, they will then come and they will sign for that team that drafted them. What if we're going to start to see a new trend of players instead choosing to develop not in the European leagues, but in the NCAA as college basketball players? What if there has been some talk out there about that being a possibility? Like Kostic for the K-State men's basketball program. That's a guy who, if he had stayed overseas, was probably looking at being somebody who was drafted, could have been drafted this year, and would have been a draft and stash. Would not have been a guy who, if he had been drafted this year, it would have probably been as a 2nd rounder, and he would have been expected to play his year 2025-26 season in Serbia. Well, now he comes to the United States, but I wonder if that's an avenue that's still going to be open to players if now the doors are open for players who have played as professionals in Europe to now play, because that was the whole thing, right? That's the separation between professionals and amateurs. Like you were playing as a professional, you couldn't be an amateur in the NCAA in the same sport. Well, if that line has been erased, what's stopping an NBA team from drafting a guy from Serbia or wherever overseas with like the 48th pick and saying, yeah, we want you to continue to develop, but how about you go do it at like BYU for Kevin Young? How about you go do it at Duke and go play on that roster with John Shire? How about you go do it at KU for Bill Self? Like, how about you come and play Big Ten or you play in the SEC, and that will be a better of how good you're going to be potentially than you go play a year for Mega Basket in the Serbian. Like, I think that's going to be a trend. I think we're going to start to see that, where you have guys who have their rights owned by NBA teams who are playing major college basketball.
I would agree.
I don't know, like, if that heightens people's interest in college basketball. I don't know if that's necessarily good for college basketball, but I think that's where things are headed. And that's why I think that's a really interesting development over on the women's side of college basketball. Speaking of changes in college sports, we have the rare headline from whitehouse.gov. Keep your finger over that. Get your politics out of my sports siren. If it sounds, we're going to be frog marched out of here. From whitehouse.gov, fact sheet, President Donald J. Trump saves college sports.
Oh, boy.
A predictably grandiose Trumpian flourish. The fact sheet is in regards to an executive order that was released by the Office of the President of the United States yesterday. And what does it mean? Well, in the immediate short term, it doesn't mean anything because it's an executive order, and executive orders direct cabinet members and other governing bodies to make policy. An executive order does not make policy. It directs others to make policy. So we'll see in the end what the impact of the executive order is going to mean. But what is in the executive order? The Saving College Sports executive order. Quick aside. I know that there are people who are not pleased with the direction of college sports. I know that many of them are coaches, both current and former. We have heard from listeners who are disappointed in what college sports has become relative to what it was. They do not like what we refer to shorthand as the NIL era. They don't like all the roster movement. They don't like that players are compensated to play. I don't agree with all of their points, but we have certainly heard those voices. We've heard from you on the text line. We've heard from you in the YouTube chat that you don't like college sports the same way you used to. You don't follow it. You don't feel the same passion toward it. And I understand that that folks that feel that way are out there. Folks that feel like college sports needs saving are out there. But last I checked, the stadiums are still extremely full. And last I checked, the networks are spending extravagant amounts of money to broadcast these games on television for major conferences and also the less prominent conferences. The business of college sports doesn't really need saving. You could, I think, argue, and I would, that players being able to profit off of their name, image, and likeness actually means the business of college sports is more fair and equitable than it has ever been, and that the dollar figures involved in sponsorships and media deals and ticket sales all suggest that college sports not only does not need saving, but is in fact extremely healthy. But that's a digression.
I think too, you add in the fact is, look, I can go to my favorite professional sports league, NHL, NFL, NBA, MLB, and I can go to this game and I can be rocking my favorite players' merch. For the most part, you couldn't do that. You could create it yourself. You could go to a third party and get it.
Yeah, you could buy that number 2 Texas A&M jersey, but you couldn't have the name Manziel on it unless you bought it bootleg, right?
Yeah.
And now you can buy an Avery Johnson K-State jersey, and Avery gets a cut.
Exactly. And I think that's the one part I like about it is like, if I'm going to a college game and I'm a college super fan and I want to wear and I want to show like, this is my favorite player. I'm going to latch on it. Guess what? I can get the merch.
That was always
connect.
That was always the part to me that was the least defensible, that you could sell a player's jersey, and you were selling that player's jersey because it was their number, but that player couldn't see a dime in the profits, even though they were making that money on the back of the player. That was always to me the least defensible stuff. Anyway, back to the executive order. The preamble, and I'm going to read from Ross Dellinger's explainer of this over at Yahoo Sports, which I think is really good and worth reading. I'll put the link in the YouTube comments. The order's preamble describes the college athletics landscape as having been subject to unfair court rulings that created an out-of-control, rudderless system, which is under unprecedented threat. And that, quote, a national solution is urgently needed to prevent this situation from deteriorating beyond repair and to protect non-revenue sports, including many women's sports. So how it is planned to do this in the executive order is directing the cabinet to create policy around some of these concepts, protecting scholarships for non-revenue sports, prohibit third-party pay for play, and clarify the status of college athletes, a direction to the Secretary of Labor and the National Labor Relations Board to clarify the status of college athletes. And this is this executive order is against the idea of college athletes becoming employees. Interestingly enough, you know who's actually in favor of college athletes becoming employees? A lot of coaches. A lot of coaches feel like collective bargaining and having a salary cap and things like that. Like Jeff Brom, the coach at Louisville, was quoted as saying this at ACC Media Days not long ago. There are a lot of coaches that feel the same way, that collective bargaining might be the only way to get to a system that is more equitable, that is less like the quote-unquote Wild West. Limited liability protection is also part of this. This is something that the NCAA and the conferences really, really want. They want an antitrust exemption. They want an antitrust exemption so they can make rules that will be enforced effectively. So Charlie Baker's the head of the NCAA now. He's the president of the NCAA, and he gave a speech Thursday morning knowing that this executive order was coming down the pike. And he said, quote, "You can't fix this stuff from executive order. Our focus for now really needs to be trying to get stuff dealt with through the legislative process. There are a couple of congressional pieces of congressional legislation that are out there. One of them is called the SCORE Act. It is a very NCAA-friendly piece of legislation, bipartisan in origin, but definitely has more favor on the Republican side of Congress than the Democratic side of Congress right now. And it has received the necessary votes to advance out of committee and is eligible for debate on the House floor. And what the SCORE Act essentially does, per Dellinger's description, is grant the NCAA and conferences similar, basically the antitrust protection that they're looking for. It may not get through the Senate, even if it does get through the House, but it has actually passed through to advance out of committee, which is a big deal. The Senate's also working on its own legislation. Ted Cruz, the Republican senator from Texas, is a big part of that. And they are working on their own legislation that would try and make some of these changes that the NCAA is aiming at. But that is what essentially happened yesterday to college sports. In the short term, in the immediate term, nothing really happened. What the hope is that we'll codify a lot of the changes that were made in the House settlement that went through last year. And the hope from the NCAA side is they get the antitrust exemption so they can make rules that will get enforced. So that is what that all means, essentially. Let's get to some Major League Baseball trades. We've had 3 of them in the last 24 hours.
Oh, I was going to get you NFL breaking news.
Well, you have breaking news?
Yeah.
All right, let's hear it.
The Bengals and number 17 overall pick Shamar Stewart have finally agreed to terms on a 4-year contract.
That is
After
breaking
a
news.
lengthy standoff over the contract language, Stewart got improved payout language, and now he's going to get on the field for their training camp.
Yes.
That's just breaking here at 5:22.
Oh, wow. How about that? That is breaking news. Yeah. That was worth interrupting. That was worth interrupting before. No, he was the last first-round pick who was unsigned. Yeah. It was really contentious. Mike Brown said it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like they got after each other a little bit in the media.
Yeah, they did.
But now it looks like that's finally been settled, and now they've got one pass rusher in the fold for next year.
Yep.
Their other one is still in Jacksonville,
Florida,
to the best of my knowledge. All right, now let's get to the baseball stuff. 3 trades in Major League Baseball over the last 24 hours. The selling teams are open for business. The first big move was announced late last night. The Seattle Mariners have acquired former Cleveland and Arizona first baseman Josh Naylor in exchange for a pair of pitching prospects. Naylor had been traded from Cleveland to Arizona before this past season, was hitting .292 with 11 home runs, 59 runs driven in 93 games with the Diamondbacks this year. A big lefty bat in the Mariner lineup. They don't have a lot of those. Cal Raleigh, obviously a switch hitter. Julio Rodriguez, Randy Arozarena, their other thumpers are right-handed. And first base has been a mess for the Mariners all season long. Now they have their guy. That's a big trade, a really nice move for Seattle. Other moves that have happened today, New York Mets have fortified their bullpen with the addition of left-handed reliever Gregory Soto from the Baltimore Orioles. Soto had appeared in 45 games this season with a .396 earned run average, 44 strikeouts in 36 and a third innings. Soto has some previous closing experience, saving 30 games for the 2022 Tigers. He was an all-star in back-to-back seasons with Detroit in 2021 and 22, and now moves to the Mets. The Yankees were also busy today acquiring Ryan McMahon from the Colorado Rockies, a third baseman, in exchange for a pair of pitching prospects. Yankees need a third baseman in the worst kind of way. There was a lot of talk that they were going to pony up for Eugenio Suarez of the Diamondbacks. Apparently, that price was too rich for the Yankees' blood because they turned to McMahon instead. McMahon hitting .217 with 16 home runs, 35 runs driven in for the woeful Rockies this season. He was an all-star back in 2024, typically excellent defender over at third, and hits 20 home runs a year like clockwork. His last 4 seasons, he's hit 23, 20, 23, and 20 home runs. He has 16 this year, may set a new career high with that short porch out to right field at Yankee Stadium in these final 2 months. Speaking as a Rockies fan, Ryan McMahon's a good player, and he was a good Rocky. And I'm glad the Rockies traded him instead of hanging on to him, pretending they're a year away from being good, which they obviously aren't.
You always got to applaud teams that understand that.
Yeah, that is true. Finally, let's do look at what's on tap this weekend. A couple of notable sporting events on tap this weekend. The NASCAR Cup Series at the Brickyard. They're racing Indy this weekend. Also, they announced this week that they won't be going back to Chicago to do the road race in Chicago next year. They're going to do a street race on Naval Base Coronado in San Diego instead. Race at the base, I believe they're going to call it. So,
which I'm surprised because everybody, I told you I have a real big NASCAR fan friend, so it always going to pop up on my timeline.
Sure.
Everyone was clamoring for them to go back to Chicagoland Speedway.
Yeah, they've got an oval there,
but everyone thought that instead of Chicago street race, it'll be at Chicagoland. That has yet to happen.
No, they're not going back to Chicago. It sounds like this next year. They're going to Naval Base Coronado. Make mine Shane Van Gisbergen to win that race.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll take him. PGA Tours at the 3M Open in Minnesota. Adam Svensson set the course record yesterday. Fired up an 11 under 61. Currently, your leader after 2 rounds at the 3M Open is Thorbjorn Olsen. He's 14 under for the tournament. Where is Svensson? He shot a 60 yesterday. He's 4 over through 17 today.
Topeka sports franchise Gary Woodland is tied for 39th, but 6 under.
Yeah, 6 under par. The cut is 5 under. This is
very easy.
Yeah, super easy course. As long as Gary keeps it in the road over his final 3 holes, he's going to make the weekend. So happy to hear. Yeah, leader is at 14 under. This is not an event a lot of the big stars typically go play right after the Open Championship. And one other thing this weekend worth noting: Hall of Fame induction weekend in Cooperstown at the Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum. Being inducted this weekend: Ichiro, CC Sabathia, Billy Wagner, and both the late Dick Allen and the late Dave Parker.
It's so nice to see quite a few people being inducted.
Yeah, it's always more fun when it's a big class, right?
Instead of just like one guy.
When it's a big celebration, we get to celebrate a bunch of different players instead of the voters being like, we don't want to put anybody in. And I hate that Dave Parker died last month. Did not make it to see his well-deserved induction. Dick Allen died several years ago. Should have been in years ago, Dick Allen. And he did not live to see his induction. And that's always sad when that happens, certainly, especially when players that, fairly contemporary, those guys, were stars in the 70s, and many of their peers are still alive and still making the yearly trips to Cooperstown. But excited to hear Ichiro's speech. We know he knows at least one figure of speech in English. Famously described Kansas City in English as being hotter than 2 rats doing it in a wool sock. So he'll do a great speech. I bet CC Sabathia's speech is really good too. It's Hall of Fame induction weekend in Cooperstown. Let's take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll hear from Nick Bolton, and we'll continue our countdown to Chiefs kickoff. Coming up next, 580 Sports Talk. 537 on 580 Sports Talk. 42 days away from Chiefs-Chargers in Brazil to open up the 2025 NFL season. Number 42 for the Chiefs is Carson Steele. He was a bit of a fan favorite last year during camp. Wonder how Crocky J is doing. Hope Crocky J is well. That, of course, Carson Steele's pet crocodile.
We're going to get an update.
We do need a Crocky J
We need
update.
to text Matt Derrick and ask Matt Derrick to ask for an update.
We do need a Crocky J update. Maybe some more time the two of them get to spend together, because I don't know if Carson Steele's going to make the roster. I think it's going to come down to, I think it's three backs for two spots: Elijah Mitchell, Rashard Smith, and Carson Steele. And I have a hard time not seeing them just keep the running backs. Carson Steele's skill set is more that of a fullback, and I don't think that's a skill set the Chiefs particularly need, especially if Kareem Hunt's going to be their short yardage guy. Just put him in and give him the ball 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. Like if that's what he's going to be, then just let him be that. And Carson Steele will he'll forever have 2024. But I'm not optimistic about him making the 53. I don't know if he slips through the practice squad or what. And certainly Elijah Mitchell is very injury prone, and we could be talking about Mitchell getting hurt at some point during camp or the preseason opens up a spot for Carson Steele. And he seems like a super guy, one worth rooting for, but it's harder to see this year a path to the 53-man roster for Carson Steele. I think Nick Bolton's going to stick. I think he'll make the 53.
I would say so.
The Patrick Mahomes of the defense, after all. Nick Bolton spoke to the media earlier today in St. Joe. Here's what he had to say.
Hey, Nick, what have you seen from Omar so far?
Yeah.
He's been running with some of the ones. Seems like his back that's impressive.
Yeah, he's an intelligent guy. He comes in there, he understands where he needs to be in defenses, and honestly, it's the only thing you can ask for in the first couple of days. It's not physical. A lot of stuff is mental, chin to the hairline and getting aligned and not having mental mistakes and just kind of doing what your job is supposed to do. And he's been doing that. I haven't seen many MEs. He's trusting me, listening to the linebacker's communication, giving us visual keys when he gets it. And, that's the only thing you can ask for at this point. He's been great in that department. I'll continue to see him grow. I'm excited for Pats.
Single color defense. What are your ambitions for the defense as a whole this season?
Yeah, we have a pretty good defense last year in terms of efficiency. We're also going to be a top defense in this league. We got the personnel, the players, and the coaches to do so. That's about executing week to week and getting us up an opportunity to win football games, to help our team win, and ultimately we'll get back to the end game. But I feel like we could be the number one defense in this league, and that's my motivation as we keep going in training camp.
Spags again referred to you as the Patrick Mahomes of the defense this week, and said that if you weren't re-signed, he wasn't sure what he was going to do. When you hear him talk about you like that, how does that make you feel? What's your reaction?
Yeah, obviously it makes you feel good. I mean, Spags is that type of guy, man. We've been growing and learning over the last 4 years, each other, and kind of figuring out what things that we do well and what our personnel allows us to do, and trying to figure out the best way to make our 11 play the fastest. And it's just super cool that I have a coach, a Hall of Fame head coach that believes in me, helps uplift me when I don't feel like I'm my best self, and I'm along with my teammates. So we're just going to keep building. Again, Spaz is that type of guy, man. Super loving, big-hearted coach, man, and he puts all that confidence in his guys week in and week out. So he kind of expresses me to do the same thing, and just a father figure for everybody in the locker room for us.
Linebackers are stacked once again. Adding Vasa, talk about how he's come along. Just one of those guys. He's got a unique skill set. He kind of does a lot of different things well, and so as we keep building, he's going to learn his role. I was just talking like he's a guy that's kind of real hard on himself, trying to be perfect, and it's not the easiest scheme in the world to learn, especially as a rookie, learning multiple positions. So just kind of got to keep going every single day, kind of give himself a little confidence as we keep going. I know this off day is super big for him. They missed the 3 days with the rookie minicamp. I kind of feel like that's one of the things they probably would have been a little bit of importance to him, but he's going to keep instilling confidence with him, keep giving him a little hope as we keep going. He's going to get better as we keep going.
What about the other two young guys, Cooper McDonald and Brandon George? I know Cooper had an interception today. How have those guys been?
Yeah, those guys also been doing great. Again, those guys playing Mike and Sam, a little bit easier when you don't learn one position, but I think those guys are doing a great job as well. Communication, getting guys aligned, and having these minute details in our defenses and the multiple defense isn't the easiest thing in the world, but they're giving communication, getting visual keys, helping D linemen out, communicating. Again, we haven't really put pads on, but that's the best thing you can ask for in this camp is getting the visual and the mental, chin and the hairline part. They've been doing great at that.
How important is the continuity of having a lot of returners to allow Spags to add on top of what you've done maybe in the previous 2 years?
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things for us is that we had a lot of success in the last couple of years, and we kind of kept that same nucleus of coaches and players, and we kind of keep building. We came in OTAs. We didn't have to like break stuff down to the very minute details. We kind of picked up where we left off, add some stuff here, change some stuff there. That feel like would make us better of overall defense. But I feel like we haven't skipped a beat. I don't know kind of what you expect when you got a veteran group. A lot of guys play a lot of football together. You can kind of see out there on the field when communications and not having to yell at the signals because our offense got a lot of smart guys on there. So you start calling out the calls too much, they kind of can pick up on it. So being able to just look at each other, understand what we're doing, and kind of reading each other's minds becomes huge. And I feel like we've been doing that.
Defense. That's a lot of goals.
Yeah.
What makes you see, or what do you see that makes you think that you can get there this year?
Yeah, again, our D-line is doing a great job. I think we got a lot of guys getting healthy. One of the biggest things is just having a lot of multi-defensive guys. We got guys getting back healthy, like I said. And, yeah, we got a great coach, man. He does a great job of mixing up different stuff. As long as we coordinate our rushes and coordinate our disguises and stuff, we never get turnovers. I think one of the things that we could do a little bit better on is turnovers. That would help us with our defense efficiency. But we pride ourselves on like minimizing points, negative plays, things that we all have the personnel to do so. So as long as we just keep building, we have to be able to do that.
What's your biggest challenge? I mean, you're proving yourself. You know the defense inside and out. What's your biggest challenge when you get up every day?
Yeah, man, just not being complacent. I got a lot of stuff that I still haven't done in this league. Won Super Bowls, that's cool. But individual success and all that type of stuff I haven't really accomplished. So I get out of bed every morning, want to be the best version of myself. I don't feel like I've done that yet. So I'm still striving every day to kind of do that. And that's kind of my motivation every time I get up for camp.
Nick, what is that first day like in pads when you finally get to hit somebody since February?
Yeah, man, you got some anxiety. I got some good anxiety, bad anxiety, whatever you want to call it. It's anxiety. You just have to go out there and just go hit somebody. I feel like it's been forever since we go out there and put pads on and kind of get physical and kind of do the things that linebackers do. So, yeah, just going out there, putting pads on. I'm going to have some little bit of anxiety, pre-game jitters kind of. We get the first inside run, man, get a couple hits in there. You'll be good for camp.
You don't play a ton of special team snaps, but what kind of a coach is Dave Tobe?
Yeah, when I play special teams as a rookie, you understand Tobe takes special teams as we say we pride ourselves on 1/3. That's 1/3 of our team. You feel that and the sense of urgency and the detail. Obviously, you understand that Tobe's had a lot of guys go to the Hall of Fame and as a Hall of Fame coach as well in that department. But you could tell with the linebackers that we have in there, he's putting a lot of linebackers in different spots, and he kind of gives them confidence to go out there and do their job. Special teams not the easiest thing in the world, and he understands that. So it's also not the most sexiest thing in the world, but it's important and it's essential to helping us win football games. And we've seen that in the last years and the success we've had, especially in the big games and when we need it the most. So it gives a guy confidence, kind of a lot like Spags, to go out there and do their job and just let them have fun and let the personality show.
Big coach on day one said a big theme was urgency. How has kind of the competition been between like the offense and defense and everyone so far?
Yeah, man. Again, it's the fifth day being here. We kind of a little bit getting tired of each other a little bit, ready to put pads on both sides. But yeah, it's been healthy competition. Guys are hungry. You can tell that guys are eager to get back. A lot of guys spent a lot of time in the injury tent last year, and everybody's getting out there and they're healthy. They're flying around, and a lot of healthy competition. It's something you can ask for. We can put the pads on, man. It should be fun.
That is Nick Bolton speaking at St. Joe earlier today. Again, that was their last light practice. They get tomorrow off to cool their heels, enjoy the finest that St. Joe has to offer. I'm kidding. They're probably going home for the day, if I had to guess. And then Sunday, the pads are popping in St. Joe at Chiefs camp.
Are they allowed to?
Yeah.
Allowed to go home?
Actually, I don't know. You can tell Travis Kelce you can't go home? You can tell Patrick Mahomes, yeah, you can't, go home? Maybe you do. I honestly don't know. I've never really thought about that.
I feel like they've talked about their off day before.
Day off's a day off.
Yeah, but you're at a destination training camp.
You are at a destination training camp.
So I don't know what the regulations are, because I bet the NFL has regulations.
Maybe they do. I don't know.
Who knows?
We'll take a timeout. I have to look that up. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll preview tonight's Royals Guardians tilt next on 580 Sports Talk. It's the series of the season for the Kansas City Royals today. 3 with the Guardians at the K. 10 tonight's first pitch. Earlier this afternoon, Royals general manager J.J. Piccolo held court in the home dugout with a collection of reporters and was asked about the trade deadline. And we could talk about it till we're blue in the face, but how about we hear from J.J. Piccolo, Royals general manager?
I think it's still developing. I know there was a couple trades last night, one today, which is a sign that things are going to start to move. But, you know, all in all, there's a lot of teams that are still in it and a little indecisiveness on what to do and how to go about it. So it's actually been still pretty slow. You know, a lot of conversations with teams and ideas, but nothing that's really catching any legs right now. You know, I don't think we're buyers or sellers. I think we're in the business of getting better. I think we have a good team right here. We believe in a lot of the guys that we have. We're starting to see signs of the offense, you know, kind of coming to life, which is really what's been missing all year. So we're as confident as we've been in this team, and the pitching is still doing a phenomenal job. So I think we just got to be open-minded to different ways to make our team better. Don't know what it's really going to look like or what's going to happen over the course of the week, but the only way you find out is if you listen and ask questions.
That doesn't sound like a guy who's going to be a seller.
Nope.
Unless his hand is forced by the Royals. If the Royals get swept at home this weekend, we're having a different conversation.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds like a guy who wants to add. That guy sounds like a guy who really wants to be in position to add to this roster. Really believes in the roster, and understandably so. And hopefully the Royals give him a reason with a good weekend at the K. Michael Wacha will try and set the tone on the mound tonight. He'll go up against Cleveland's Gavin Williams, who has their best earned run average of any active starter, but also leads the American League in walks. So Royals got to be patient against young right-hander Gavin Williams tonight. The lineup for the Royals: Jonathan India will DH and lead off, followed by Bobby Witt Jr. back at shortstop after the day off on Wednesday. Vinny Pasquantino's at first, Michael Garcia's at third, and Salvador Perez does the catching and bats fifth. Jack Caglione's in right field, starting a string of 4 straight lefties at the bottom of the Royals order. Adam Frazier is at second base tonight, batting 7th. And say what you will about Frazier's bat, but it's certainly a defensive upgrade over Jonathan India. And oh, by the way, Frazier and India have the same OPS.
Interesting.
Yeah. John Rave will play left field and bat 8th, and Kyle Isbell is the center fielder, batting 9th. The lineup for Cleveland to face Michael Wacha tonight: Stephen Kwan, the all-star left fielder, will lead off, followed by Angel Martinez in center and the great Jose Ramirez at third. Kyle Manzardo will bat cleanup. He certainly enjoyed his visit to Kauffman Stadium at the end of March. Carlos Santana, the former Royal, will DH and bat 5th. Gabriel Arias is the shortstop, batting 6th. Daniel Schneemann is the right fielder. He'll bat 7th. Then Brian Rocchio at second base, and Bo Naylor behind the plate.
Busy day at Kauffman Stadium. Not only did J.J. Piccolo talk, but it appears Royals first-round pick Sean Gamble, a Des Moines native, he put on his jersey and cap. I assume he spoke to the media and took some batting practice.
He may have. I don't know. They don't always do media with the draft picks, but I believe 21 of the 22 have signed. 21 of the 22 Royals picks. They got that business done last week. I don't remember if we got to it in headlines. We may not have. But, the Royals got that business done pretty quick. Gamble, I think, was either right at slot or slightly below. Hammond was right around slot as well. They went over slot for the high school pitcher they drafted in the 3rd round, Cameron Miller. But most of that business is done, and the Royals got all their draft picks into the fold. No fuss, no muss, which is always a thing that you are happy to hear. I think the Royals are better than Cleveland. I think they're a team that thinks of itself in a way that I don't think the Guardians think of themselves in their own clubhouse right now. And I think that mix should lead to a series win. I think this is a series that Kansas City ought to win. They don't. I think J.J. Piccolo's got to understand the reality of the situation that he's in. I also would understand why he wouldn't. I know it sounds like I'm fence sitting on the subject, and I understand. Like you can give me the hell for that if you want. But all I'm saying is this. The numbers tell you, the odds tell you the smart thing to do is sell. But that's an easier thing to do when you're playing out of the park baseball or MLB The Show than it is when you're dealing with humans, when you're dealing with real fans, when you're dealing with a baseball city that wants a reason to get behind their guys and come to the ballpark. And that is JJ Piccolo's question. What do I owe the fans? What do I owe the clubhouse? That is a hard question to answer, and it can be made a lot easier. It will be made a lot easier one way or another by how the Royals come out against Cleveland. We'll take a break, come back, and wrap up 580 Sports Talk next. Final word time. Spencer Dupuis, lay it on me.
It's good to hear my guy, Nazi Johnson, is turning it around. Last season, obviously, coming back from the ACL injury. He got back there, started playing, but wasn't very effective, and he was burnt a lot, and it did not look good for him heading into this year, but glad in a year down from the ACL recovery, and let's see what he can do coming up. Also, Monday, you'll get my official review of Happy Gilmore 2.
Happy Gilmore 2 out this week, starring Travis Kelce, and I guess some other famous
Ed Kelce, I think, is in it too.
Is he really? How about that?
Makes a little cameo.
Final word for me. I can't believe none of y'all said anything about my shirt today.
I saw it earlier, and I wondered what it was.
So what it is, and I'll stand up for the benefit of those viewers on the YouTube channel.
I feel like you've worn it before.
I have never worn this before.
Okay.
This is the debut of this shirt. This is a cat wearing a hat and a dookie chain, making it rain Kohl's cash. So I saw it at Kohl's probably a couple of weeks ago when I was there shopping with my wife, and I laughed at it, and she thought it was ridiculous, which of course made me want to get it. And I ended up not getting it because it was $13, and that seemed a little steep a price to pay for a bit. But then I ended up with some Kohl's cash, ironically enough, and I got the shirt for $6. And this is absolutely $6 worth of shirt. When I was sitting in my office this morning, and it stopped Brendan in his tracks, like mid sentence. Brendan comes in to talk to me, and he stops. He says, "That is a bananas shirt."
Yeah,
it's a cat with a hat. The hat says Kohl's cash on it, and he's making it rain Kohl's cash.
That's great.
Yeah, not an advertisement. Although if I'm ever wearing a polo and like slacks, that is also me being a walking advertisement for Kohl's. So
yeah,
it is what it is. Shout out to Kohl's.
Shout out Kohl's. I got a Kohl's shirt on too.
Hey, there you go. And shout out to the Royals. Make it a good weekend. We're back on Monday from 3 until 6. We got some overtime next. For Spencer, I'm Dan. This is 580 Sports Talk. Good night.